we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 6:01. Welcome everyone, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to approve tonight's agenda. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll go right into the facilities work session, which it looks like up first we have the 30-year maintenance plan.
This is the same document that is attached to the top of Mr. Farrell's monthly updates to the boards.
Right.
And then I updated it, or I'll update it as projects complete,
Okay.
or are completed.
Okay. So off of your 30-year maintenance matrix, have you set forth kind of what you'd like to see happen within a year of per buildings or per the district as a whole?
I've got the priorities of the buildings that I gave you guys, ranked 1 through 6 for each building.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be my priorities I would like to see.
Where is that?
I think it was a Google Doc.
Because I don't believe we received that.
It's priorities, building priorities.
Oh, I found it.
It was a Google Doc, I believe I shared it with the board last year.
Oh, it's not on here though.
No.
There's a, oh, that's the principals list.
Let's see.
You're looking for the document that the board asked you to create your priorities.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yep.
Do you want me to share
What's the name of it?
It
It's,
should be shared with the board.
yeah, it's building needs by priority.
I don't believe it was attached to the agenda, so I can email it out.
This is
Easy. Thank you.
I just replied to the email that Assistant Superintendent Pasley sent out.
Oh, link. So you created this last year?
I think I shared it, well, hold on, maybe it'll tell me when I sent it to, yeah, so I sent it to Lynn on the 14th of November of last year. And then at some point after that would have been a board meeting or
I can tell you.
even a board workshop.
I
don't
can
really
tell you
remember
when
that.
we linked it into our.
Yeah, I don't remember the
list.
setting, if it was an actual board meeting or if it was a workshop, but,
My point in asking that question is,
Mhm.
are these still your priorities? Have anything?
the only thing that would change, it's not an exact science because things come up and whatever, but the Betty Kiefer play structure I had listed here, the one that we ended up taking out, I had listed at a priority
For
4, but that was prior to me actually inspecting it when this went out. Play structures just needed to be on this 1 through 6 across the board as a rotational replacement.
Would you put that at number one for Vicky for right now, since we took their playground?
It would be the number one for sure in Lisa's eyes, because she's down a structure where Garwood has the ability. I mean, they're okay to go a little bit without one. I don't know. Let me see.
We do have play structures listed as a potential item on
Yeah.
our plant facilities worksheet.
So I guess for me, putting that, we could move the structure up to a level 2. An interior renovation would be a capital size project, and that would be something we would plan out, I would think a few years in advance or more. So we could move it up on that 1 through 6 to a 2.
I would at this point, having been a principal at an elementary school where we didn't have enough playground equipment, because we're not at a place right now where we can do the exterior for
Right.
Benke for right now. I would put the playground at number 1, as we're considering how to spend this year's plant facility dollars. It will be important that we can replace what we took out, so that there's enough
Mhm.
equipment out there for the kids to play on.
Okay. So on that,
Not to override you, but I know that the exterior is.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I agree. And as far as the interior renovations, I mean, we are chipping away at it simply by putting carpet in buildings. That would be part of, right?
I feel like we're missing something, because there was maybe it's just this for me. Nope, we're not. I got it. On the 25, the fiscal year plant facility levy work session preliminary budget that was provided.
Which is just, is that, which document are you looking at?
It's an Excel spreadsheet,
Is it the plan?
or actually it's
It's a
a
project worksheet.
project.
Yeah. Yes, so, this is not an all-inclusive, obviously, and it may not be what your priorities are. This was just a starting point for us as we talked about things that have come up from administrators and from our facilities department, so we can certainly adjust that.
That specific document was prepared with the initial FY24 budget when we met last July. And then the approved projects that have come to the board and been approved for moving forward out of plant facility funds for this last fiscal year, leaving kind of an unappropriated balance, an uncommitted balance of $183,000, almost $184,000. Mike and I met last week and kind of went through what would potentially be a proposed budget for this fiscal year. At the board's discretion, we gave you some additional options down below if we would like to do any of that. Knowing that we have the $18 million coming from the state for some capital projects, we were trying to be strategic in how we presented this, because $18 million can go for 7-year capital improvements, where our plant facility levy money is more for maintenance and things like that.
Right.
So that's kind of the lens that we looked at, proposing a budget, proposing expenditures to the board for this next fiscal year out of that plant facility levy money, knowing we have capital money coming this year.
Okay.
Again, the proposed projects are at the discretion of the board. We just tried to put some dollar amounts to them to give you an idea. When working with us with our facilities director, we were just trying to be strategic based on things that we absolutely know need to take place. For example, the siting projects, there's several change orders that we need to do in order to complete those projects.
The siding for,
Spirit Lake and Apple.
there's more than there was for the middle school?
So I can let.
So, I think it was last year, I mentioned to the board of a potential change order coming down regarding what took place at this building
Right.
and us wanting to get ahead of it at the other two
Right.
buildings. We finally got a number on what that additional metal flashing would cost for Spirit Lake and Athol, and that's something that I'm hoping the board would be able to make a decision on tonight, just because it's time sensitive. We can run into this stuff after school starts, but I prefer not to, if that makes sense. So if we do it now, we can do it during construction over the summertime. If we don't, and we wanna wait and think on it, then it would have to be done after the exterior's done and school's back in session, which makes it more challenging.
Okay, I guess I
So-
don't understand, because if there's change orders that went into effect here, and we knew that there's change orders that's coming down the road for the other, a change order
Right.
for each one of those buildings
Yep.
because of the design,
Mhm.
why would we have to think on it and wait? I
We
guess.
are out of funds in the project budget,
Okay,
so this has to come out of a different funding source, so that's why it's being brought to you.
okay,
You
How much-
wouldn't have to wait. It would be, I mean, it would be at your discretion if you wanted to. I'm just presenting what the issue is, and I would like to see it done during the construction process, rather than having to have them come back and do it after school starts.
So
okay,
it's an
But-
additional $139,000 to do the 3 items. 107 is the change order that Mike is referring to related to the flashing. And then there's a drip edge and some gutters that also need to be put into place in order to protect the investment into the siding. And so it's 139,000 that we're looking to spend, which we do have, like I said, about 183,000 that was unspent or unobligated this last fiscal year. So we're well within even FY24's plant facility levy money to do those orders. It's just seeking approval because we're using a different funding source.
So a little bit more detail on part of this change order was that both Athol and Spirit Lake had pre-existing gutters, but they were horrible. And so when they removed the gutters from Spirit Lake specifically, when they initially installed those, they actually cut the drip edge to install the gutters. So after the gutters came down, now we have drip edge that has these massive cuts, and it's compromised essentially. And gutters were not part of the original scope of work for Emmerich anyway. And so, I mean, the choice could always be to leave it that way, but it just doesn't look very good. And I want to get gutters back on the buildings
right,
because they were pre-existing. And so that's more detail in regards to what the cause of the change order would be on that end of it.
okay.
You know, separate from the metal flashing change order for 107,000.
Okay, so you said we're out of funds, but now you're telling us that this 187,550 is really what's remaining within our
So
2024 budget?
when I said we're out of funds, the siding projects, so the board facility projects, that fund will be out once we complete paying for what we already have on the books for Emmerich. So these change orders are above and beyond what the board transferred into that account. And that's why I'm looking to use plant facility levy money for it versus the board approved projects, because we will be out of funds. We would either have to transfer general fund funds in there or use another source of funding.
We're not out of money in the projects at its limit of what was pre-approved.
Yes.
And there's an additional 180 some left, not additional, but left in the facilities funds. And that's
That
what
could be
they're
used
wanting
to
to
fund
use,
it.
correct.
Yes.
But my question is this, what about the gutters we're taking off? Are we reusing those gutters or?
They're not in reusable condition. I mean, they were
So-
literally taped
So
together.
we knew there was gutters, but we didn't budget to put gutters back on the
Right.
building.
Right. Yeah, it was a,
Did we do that?
you know, I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay,
Just to be perfectly honest, I mean, it got missed, I guess, essentially, so.
What does that cost?
Gutters, I got a bid for gutters, I think right around 18,000 for both schools.
Oh, for both of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
In total, so
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
total. It's line
So
36.
136 plus the 18, is that an additional?
No, so it's 107 for the change order for the flashing, 14,000 for the drip edge, and then the gutters would be another 18,000.
Okay, so 100.
139.
139 total is what
Okay,
we're seeking
okay.
to finalize the
Yeah.
project with Emmerich
Okay, gotcha.
for the change orders.
pull it up to confirm, but in our December 11 notes, we referenced there was a facility workshop on 11/13/23, and then in the notes under facilities follow-up, I wrote, I can't pull up the document, but oh, I just lost it. I note Mike followed up with principals specific to the priority list, and then we note no follow-up questions regarding the priority list. So my assumption is we either showed it.
When was this?
The facility workshop was 11/13/23, and then we talk about it in Mike's update on December 11/23, but I can't pull up any of the notes from the district website or from board book, so I can't.
Well, on the because I printed out the notes, because John Brown was driving me nuts, so I wanted to see exactly what the paper trail was on it. Under plant facilities fund, the plant facilities fund approval was tabled until the budget work session, which we had in February. And then in February, it was not brought back up. So
Okay.
nothing was done with those funds.
I was just talking about this priority list document. I think it was shared with you guys either at that workshop or at this December meeting, but I can't pull anything up to confirm that.
On Mike's update, the worksheet was not there, because I printed
Okay.
out his notes.
Yeah, I can't, it won't let me pull anything up. So I wonder if you shared it at the workshop.
December would make sense.
If you sent it to me in November, I would have attached it to that doc, but I can't confirm, I don't.
Okay.
But it would be around that time if it was shared.
Well, I mean, regardless, we're here today.
Yeah.
So let's try and stay where we need to stay focused instead of true, which I'm good at. Okay, so there's 139,000 in change orders, which includes flashing, gutters, and what was the other thing?
Drip
The
edge.
drip edge. Drip edge. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, the additional approved projects. Are sitting at 672, 232.
Yes,
Where's that one?
675, 232.
Oh, yes. Where we don't have any resources for that, correct? Where's that money coming from?
That is coming from the plant facility levy. So the top portion, if we're to walk through this spreadsheet, the top portion was from our original facilities workshop last July.
Mhm.
We had set aside the initial funds. John Brown was initially in there. We pulled that out.
We
throughout
pulled it
the-
out the very next month when we
Yeah.
had our budget workshop.
Exactly. So we, as the year progressed, we continued to bring projects forward to you. For example, in March, we brought the middle school gym,
Right.
all of that stuff. We brought these projects forward to you throughout the course of the year. So these are projects that the board has taken action on and approved for expenditures. And so if you take the 287, 339 from the top, plus the 675, 232, those are all obligated projects out of FY24 plant facility levy. That left 183,949 unobligated, which we were carrying forward into FY25.
Okay.
All of the projects that are listed on here, if they have not been completely spent out, we could carry forward as well, or we are carrying forward as well.
Right.
For example, gym floor, we know we're not gonna get to that until,
Next summer.
next summer, just because of the timing, but we had to sign a contract with that company in order to get on their books so that we could get the gym floor done. So with that said,
So where are we at with the concrete projects?
the concrete projects, an RFP will go out by the end of this month. Mike had done some great legwork on getting some quotes. It's definitely above and beyond what we need, so an RFP will go out for proposals for those specific projects. We did add some additional money, in our proposed projects for FY25 to do some more concrete work. So we could pool those resources if the board, at the board's discretion,
So when is the RFQ gonna go out?
by the end of this month.
Okay.
She's needing some assistance from an engineer or somebody who has an expertise so that she's writing the specs correctly so that we get what we're asking for. So it's just taking a little bit of time. So if the board were to approve what you have for fiscal year 25, we would be spending 616,000.
Yes, which is roughly half of what our director of facilities had brought forward. He said it'd be about 1.2 to do all the concrete work in the district. Granted, that was last fall, so the prices probably have gone up, but it'd be covering roughly half of those projects.
Yeah, I think at the meeting he had said 1.2 for everything, and his recommendation for like priority was, I think, 400.
It was 1.124322. That was in his notes, so that
That's
was
pretty exact.
That is what it was.
And was the recommendation 425, like as far as top priority?
At minimum, I would recommend the 6 sites with the highest needs listed here in order of priority with a cost of $327,273. Lakeland High School, Athol Elementary, Spirit Lake, John Brown, Garwood, and the middle school, Lakeland.
Okay.
So, and that was in December. Which I think, and for you, Miss Maria, on the December 11th notes, for whatever reason, pages 2 and 4 did not get scanned in. I'm assuming it was front and back, and we only did the front. So we need to update those minutes.
Okay, I wasn't here.
No, I know. I'm just letting you know I found it. You get to fix it.
December 11th.
Yes, the December 11th meeting. Because I'm like, oh no, it didn't print correctly, and then I'm like, oh, they're not there. So, that's what it was. Oh yeah, because I don't have 2 and 4. So to finish the approved projects for 24 and to accept the change orders for the 2 projects, we would then still be sitting roughly at 47,000 carryover. Okay.
In the actual budget, it will look like a little bit more because we won't expend the 38,000 for the gym floor at Lakeland Middle School until next summer. But we've signed the contract, so that money has been allocated for that, so that it will show up still in the budget until we actually start
There's
it.
a
So would
rather,
it be encumbered then?
it will be over, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So with the emergency repair dollars that don't get spent, are we setting those aside into a fund, carrying them over into the following year? So
Ideally.
then this year we would potentially have 200,000
Yes,
because
that's
they weren't.
ideally what we would like to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Same thing with the building budgets for the furniture, that 67,000 that's left. I'd like to bring that forward as well. As you may recall from the budget workshop and budget hearing, the state took our maintenance match away, or lottery dollars essentially, which is about $400,000 of our budget. So using that money this year out of the plant facility levy becomes even more important.
Yeah, to fund the, some of the facilities bills that they passed, they're taking away our lottery dollars and they're taking away the bond equalization fund that we have gotten. Both of those have allowed us to help build the facilities budget. The 2 bills, House Bill 292 and House Bill 521, neither of those will allow us to build the facilities budget. So
Okay.
we're gonna have to get creative.
Well, isn't that the purpose though of the repair maintenance funding that they're now giving us, that 18 million you were talking about?
No, the 18 million that we're going to get, so that's House Bill 521. If we were to take it over 10 years in equal chunks, we would not be able to use it at all for facilities, and it would have to be used for tax relief. So our recommendation to the board, as is every other superintendent's recommendation to their board across the state, is that we take it in one lump sum so that we get the whole amount. We get to collect the interest on it as we spend it, and then we can use it for capital projects, but it has to be capital projects that will last 7 years or more. And then House Bill 292 is the facilities maintenance bill, but the language within the bill says, first and foremost, this is a property tax relief bill. So if we have any levies or bonds on the books, that money gets applied to those first, and if there's any left over, then we can use the money for facilities. But we'll get about 1.6, 1.7 is what we think we're gonna get this next year, and it will just be applied to our supplemental levy if we have one more year of it, so we won't get any of the facilities money.
We talked about that during our budget work sessions as well. There's a large range that they could give us. The state will notify us towards the end of next month what that dollar amount is. So we don't have a firm number on what we would expect to be in place for property tax relief. And I'm waiting for that number in order for us to even complete our L2 for the county, because I have to report the state's contribution essentially, so that we don't levy too much money next year based on that property tax relief. Continuing on with that 18 million, we do have to use it on capital projects that'll last more than 7 years. The state has some pretty stringent requirements on that. We have to have a 10-year plan submitted to the state, which is one of the attachments on the meeting tonight, where you can see the 10-year plan for state facility funds. So we have some worksheets that we're doing. Our director of facilities is completing those for us. That gets uploaded into a system, and then once we have our 10-year plan approved, which is essentially getting what their hope is to get our buildings to good or perfect. 18 million is not going to do that. But once we get those submitted, then we'll start to receive a portion of that money. I would like to advise the board on the revenue that we receive from that, the interest revenue. My personal plan, at your discretion, would be to bank that until the end, because if for some reason the state doesn't have enough sales tax revenue to make their bond payment, they can call part of our bond back, part of the money they give us back. And I'd like to bank our revenue or interest revenue in order to pay that to them instead of maybe hitting our full amount. Just kind of a cushion insurance, if you will. Just trying to be smart, knowing that there's a potential that even though they're giving us this money, if they can't make the payment, they'll pull some back from us.
Okay.
So, but tonight, I think, as we don't have all those documents together, I think the bigger focus for us was our existing plant facility levy dollars, and making sure that we have those allocated. We will have to bring the 10-year document to you because we do need board signature on it, in order to get that moving forward. We just don't have it all done. They literally, it's been it's coming, and then we just had a conference call last week over how to upload everything. So we have everything to get going, so we're working on that diligently right now. It's a top priority so that we can get our funding. We also provided the language of House Bill 292 and House Bill 521. They're super fun to read, very frustrating.
So on this 10-year, on the signature page, School Modernization Fund document, when I wasn't in here before, there were no numbers in the little boxes. Why are there numbers in the little boxes?
There's numbers in the
It
boxes.
says 1, 2, 3.
Are you on the
4.
survey rubric?
Yes.
So the survey rubric is basically explaining, it correlates to the forms that we have to fill out. So for example, box 1 is site roadways, and it essentially explains how they want you to code on the following sheets. So further down in the document, it's page,
There's no numbers on it.
I apologize, these are from the state.
No, I don't.
So if you go to PDF page, for that one specifically, it is PDF page 21. you'll see box 1 site roadways, and then it has boxes NA, good, fair, poor, replace. You use that survey rubric to give you basically the definition of what you're checking there for that specific site. So for example, John Brown next door, if we were to say that this page specifically is for John Brown, and we're looking at the roadways, I'm going to assume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, Mike, that we would probably put it at, for roadways, we would probably put it at fair to poor, for,
Yeah, based on their verbiage in that grading scale there, yes.
I know with that tree coming out at John Brown this year, we're gonna have a hole in the parking lot, so.
I'll cover it up.
With gravel and stuff, but anyway, we're gonna have a hole, so it's looking at that and saying, we have minor fractures in the parking lot, there's not a disruption of use, there's fractures in paving material, repairs to fractures should occur. So to me, that would be that's the fair assessment. So Mike is walking through each of these sites, looking at the definitions that are provided in that rubric and making a recommendation on the page. This will correlate back to his matrix, and it'll correlate back to the building priorities as well. So it's not an easy task necessarily, but it's nice that they gave us some definitions so that hopefully there's some consistency across the state and what people are.
And when does this have to be submitted to the state?
We can submit it any time in the next 10 years, but preferably if we would like to have priority funding, the sooner the better. Their first funding cycle will be in September. So if we can get if we can get everything uploaded with the board signature, by the end of August, we should be in that first round of priority funding.
And we're filling out a rubric for each school.
So it's each school, but any addition to the school too. So if a building had an addition, we have to do a separate page for that addition as well.
Oh, fun.
It's amazing.
No, it's been a real blast.
And we have some buildings that have more than
Major.
one addition.
Yeah, so
so
we've got
gotta
several
fill one
buildings
out for
that
each.
the
It's
older
gonna be
buildings
real
It's
soon.
Six.
A lot of work.
And
6+ additions put on.
they're allowing us to also fill it out for non-student occupied buildings. Priority in my mind is student occupied buildings, but we can fill them out for non-student occupied buildings and parking lots and things like that. So right now our priority, because we can amend our plan in the future if we would like to, for example, if we have some crazy stuff happening and we need to add an addition to a school or something like that, we would prefer to use that money for it instead of going out for a bond. We can amend our plan. But right now, what we're trying to do is just get all of the schools in so that we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm assuming that's everybody's priority.
And do you feel like you can accomplish all that alone, all by yourself? 13 schools, 13 buildings, some with up to 6 additions.
I'm doing every structure.
By the
building.
end of August.
Yeah, I
With
mean,
everything
unfortunately,
else,
I've
okay.
had a lot of years walking these buildings and doing evaluations and stuff.
Okay.
So really, it's just time. My biggest issue is the time part of it, but I don't see any issue having it ready to go by August.
Okay,
you
thank
know.
God he's not new to
Yeah.
the district.
Could be it.
That
Well,
could be
I mean,
really
that's a bonus. I
scary,
mean, having
yeah.
the history of stuff is a
The
bonus,
experience, yeah.
and
I will say Mike's
it's
documents that he has, his matrices and things like that, I think enable him to help do these rather quickly just because he is constantly updating that and making sure that we're following along with what he's tracking, so.
and those are still. I mean, I wasn't handed anything when I took this on, so a lot of these things are investigations that I'm having. You know, record keeping was sketchy at best on my end of it over there. So I think we're getting close. We're getting to a point where it's going to be helpful for sure.
So these documents were provided, obviously it doesn't have any of our information, it's just provided as a reference to, so you would see what we're required to
What has
complete,
to happen.
in order to have that completed. So since we do not have all of that done, I think that, like I said, the focus was trying to make sure we were all on the same page on what we wanted to do with the plant facility levy funds this year, so we could get everything going, related to RFQs and stuff like that, especially as we start down the road of that 18 million being capital projects. We're going to have a lot of bids going out, and that just requires some lead time, especially if we're planning on doing anything super major as far as an addition or construction or anything like that. We have to have lead time. It doesn't just happen, unfortunately, overnight like I would like it to.
Well, I think that that's been the frustration for, I know for the three of us that are sitting here, because I know that I've heard Michelle and Ramona say it over and over, you know, when I first got on the board, and it's been par for the course of projects have been approved and then they just sit and there's no movement on a project, and yet there's other projects that we feel like keep coming back and being put in front of us, and we're like, no, we want, this is our priority, this is what we want to do. And I understand it takes a long time for projects to be moved forward, so I just want to make sure that if we are approving projects, and so that we can spend the dollars, we need to make sure that we're moving as soon as possible.
And we can build into either Jessica or Mike's monthly follow-up to the board with an update on each of the projects that you approve, if you approve any tonight, because we have action items to so if you were to approve the concrete, which I think you've actually done already, so no, that's
Well,
a bad
there's-
example, but
well,
or
we
the
have
additional
money for concrete, yeah.
Then we can just there will be an update on concrete projects for you if you approve the playground equipment at John Brown and Garwood and Betty Kiefer. There would be, we'll just have a line item for each of those each
Mike,
month.
I do provide you guys, I do provide the board listing of the board approved projects, so my plan is to include a notes section with an updated
As a status.
Yep,
Perfect.
so that we're all on the same page. I know that was something that the board had asked for previously as far as board approved project tracking. I just am gonna take it that step further to provide a status on it as well. It's already built, I just need to put the new column in there, and Mike and I can work in conjunction to make sure that is up to date for every board meeting.
Who's supposed to be taking care of our website?
Jackie and Dane are working on it together. Is there any-
Because that would be a nice spot if we had like a community page with these updates on there, not only to the board, but we always ask because the community asks.
We do have the financial transparency page. I think it would be
Yeah.
very easy to add this to it if you would like.
Well, if it was plain English, and the reason I ask that is because the website's not up to date, still lists Chelsea as the treasurer.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
So, would that be a sufficient spot for it? We already have contracts or monthly financials, all of that. I can just add the board approved, facility projects as a tab on there as well, unless you want it in a different spot.
We can put it in more than one spot, so we could put it under community if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And then we could also put it under financial transparency
Yeah.
because it is an allocation of dollars.
Yeah, I was thinking if we just start building a place where the public's used to going, you know, then they can.
A one-stop shop
Right,
for
right,
all
right,
of,
right.
yeah.
Any question they
Yeah,
have,
that's a
you
great
know.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. If I don't think about it, it goes somewhere.
Yeah.
I never
It's a
find
great
it.
thing to add. I mean, we're tweaking our financials and stuff to be as transparent as possible, and
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
awesome.
idea of including that.
Well, we have 7 tabbies. Are we able to do more, or does it have to be just the 7 and we have to stick it under one of those pages? That's what I'm asking, on the website.
Oh.
We have district, school board, departments, programs, our schools, parents, students, and financials. You had mentioned adding it under financials, which to me, I think it just needs to be like, it's a little special tab that says what's going on in our district and shows all of our projects and where they're standing, where they're at, what we've got coming up,
I
etc.
think we can add 1 or 2 more. I would have to defer to Dane and
Jackie.
Jackie.
It's Jackie, yeah, so I'll check with Jackie to see if we can add a tab. I think we can add another tab across the top, but I will ask her. If we added a tab across the top specifically for community, update to community on board work, what do we wanna call that?
I would just call it community.
Community, yeah.
That'd be for me. And even if it was just a link to the financials page would be fine. Just as long as they can go one spot and find what they're looking for.
Yeah, because we've got a spot for parents and students, so other community members.
Yeah, just
Could go there.
community, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, any updates as we move through
Just
that process.
a link
Okay.
to the levy page with all of the documentation.
I don't see any reason why we wouldn't take the remaining 2024 funds out of the plant facility levy
Right.
to approve the change orders. I mean,
I agree.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, that's,
have to be a priority.
It is
100%.
built into the proposed budget, so I basically took what was unappropriated for FY '24, and if you look at the remaining balance for, the proposed budget for FY '25, it's our current levy plus that 183,949. So our levy amount is actually,
1.146.
1,146,520, for the plant facility fund, so $1,146,520. If you add the 183,949, that's how I got to
Well, if you
the
look at
133.
It's listed there.
Yeah.
So they are listed
Yeah.
in our
Correct, I
priority
see
for
that.
this year. So, the other one that I think is super important is the safety film on windows at Lakeland Middle School, Spirit Lake Elementary, and Apple. We're estimating that to be about $75,000. That would finish out, basically those projects on those 3 siding projects, is to do the safety film, because with the new windows do not have them.
Right.
And so that is another one. Betty Keeper and Garwood both are missing play structures, which is why we had those on there as a recommendation out of plant facility levy funds, to replace those play structures, so our students have something to do on the playground.
And I did ask when we were talking about that, I did ask Jessica to look at the cost for wooden structures rather than metal, because the metal structures lifespan is not very long.
Right.
And wood will last forever as long as we maintain them.
Again, the building repairs and emergency repair funds, just help our facilities department continue to do maintenance, and then anything that pops up throughout the year, because there's always something that comes up that we don't necessarily have funding for. And then some funding for additional concrete projects. The carpet for Betty Keeper, and then carpet for Apple, and the tile for Garwood, that's just a recommendation. We provided several other projects down below if that's not something that the board wants to move forward with at the moment.
One of the reasons I recommended the carpet is because a couple of years ago I started that project at the schools, and then everything came to a halt. And I would like to continue back on, because a lot of the schools are in dire need of carpet replacement, like Betty Keeper's original carpet. And the carpet just gets gross. I mean, that's where a lot of germs lie and things like that, just from a sanitary standpoint. Right, so that was the reason why I wanted to get the momentum going again and keep knocking some of these buildings out
That's the
that
same
way.
thing for the tile in the cafeteria. Garwood has several.
Yeah, it's cracked.
The floor looks
It's-
bad
yeah,
in
it's
their
beyond-
cafeteria.
A lot of it's beyond just refinishing it. So-
It needs replaced, repaired, and I know Betty Keeper's cafeteria is not too far behind
Yeah.
theirs, so that's why the recommendation for those 2 schools specifically, their cafeteria floors need help.
And are these based off of contacting someone to, or is it just spitballing it?
The numbers. So what I did is, it's kind of a little bit of that. I took numbers that I had, real numbers that we had paid before I stopped, the project stopped. And I kind of added a little bit for inflation and things.
But a whole lot for inflation.
Right, yeah, so that's kind of how we came.
Based.
That's
He
how.
would tell me a number and I would add like 15 to
Yeah.
20,000 to it. I'm like, okay.
That's kind of how we took a stab at it here, I mean, I don't remember, I'm hoping I'm fairly close.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other thing is too, if we do get into these and we bid them out and say we get a great deal from somebody, we can always reallocate funds to something else. So that's, we put some numbers on here to get to where we thought we would at least, that's what we think we need, and without heavily having to go over that. And then if we need to, we can reallocate funds after the fact once we have. If we're gonna do all the carpet, I'm hoping that we could bid all of that out at once and get a screaming deal, because we're doing multiple buildings. So that was the thought process behind why we had the continuation of those 4 buildings, and then doing all of Betty Keeper, just so that we could potentially bid them all as one project and take advantage of the bulk work that would be done. And then in theory, if we're allocating almost $500,000 to carpet, if we could come under that, then we could repurpose that for another project.
I have a question about the playground equipment for Betty Keefer and Garwood. Do the PTOs use whatever they have there? Do they have any funds to match or help with the equipment? And the reason I ask is, I know Garwood a few years back had funds and was told they couldn't use it because
So-
it wasn't equitable, but yet Apple had to raise all the funds to put
Yep.
in the new playground equipment.
I think this has been, and I apologize my lack of experience or lack of longevity in
No,
the
you're fine.
district, but my understanding is it's kind of gone back and forth depending on which board is in seat at the time. So
Well,
it-
actually, well, I'll correct you there. It wasn't the board, it was a prior superintendent that stopped it.
okay, so
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
thank you for that. But if they did, Chelsea and I actually talked about this at length. If they do have money that they have set aside for the playground, we can say we have $60,000 for you. If you want something a little bit more and you have 20,000 in savings, we'd be happy for you to donate that, and we could buy 80,000 for you, and just go about it through that methodology if they had raised funds for it.
I believe Garwood, I think Jake and I have talked quite a bit about it. I believe he has some funding
There is.
from
He
that. I don't
does.
remember the dollar amount, but they were starting. They were on their way to, you know,
So prior,
I don't know about any key
prior to the previous administration, the district paid
Right.
for playground equipment because I
It
think it's
should.
a district
Yeah.
obligation.
Well,
I
it
don't
just-
think it's a PTU requirement to
Mhm.
go out, and it's hard to raise
It is.
that much money for playground equipment.
I agree, however, Apple just had to do it. And when Garwood had the money, they were told they couldn't do it, so
Right.
my hesitation is how do we make that equitable to Apple, because they just got all of it, the district gave nothing. And they redid the whole, not only the structure, but the whole playground, so they have double, so. I mean, I guess we need to ask the question and see how much they have to put towards it, or, and I would be curious too to know how much Apple spent on their
I was
entire
going to
project.
ask you that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, and a lot of it, there was no money because, you know, community members literally just came
Donated
and,
and helped
yeah,
Do the
Yeah.
install.
yeah.
And unfortunately, this type of thing happens often.
Right.
I know, like Betty Kiefer's PTU raised money to put cameras in the building, and now the district is paying for for cameras in buildings, so we do, this
Yeah.
happens.
It
We
happens.
paid for the first round of cameras that Betty Kiefer got. I paid a portion out of my building, and then our PTU paid for half of the other half, and so we pretty much retrofitted the whole building. I mean, I think Lisa has had to maybe purchase a couple additional ones, but we didn't wanna wait, and there was no money, and so we just did it.
But there is heartache, to
Right,
your point,
yeah.
when that happens, I know.
Well, I mean, at least you had half your building fund though, that is district money.
Right.
So-
Right, exactly.
And-
Yeah.
And I think it was, actually in Garwood, they used building funds they saved up to create a computer lab. And then the district paid for everybody's computer labs, so.
Yeah,
And, you know, and the principal at the time wanted the district to reimburse some of that that money so they could use it for other things that they wanted to do in the building. And, so I definitely understand what you are
yeah.
saying, so we can reach out to Apple and see how much they spent, and I would be
Ask
interested.
the two other schools if they have any raised.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I am also interested to know from Apple's perspective, I guess, if they feel like they bought what they could, but they don't have what they need, or do they have what they need also?
Right,
So,
yeah.
I will check that out.
Well, and I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that, part of the frustration from the taxpayers is we keep saying, we want more money from them, and then we look at our buildings and say, we're not giving you any money.
Mhm.
Right.
So that the kids can play, so that the teachers can teach,
Yeah.
so that, you know, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's just a conundrum that we have to put measures in place that we don't get back to this spot.
Well, and it definitely goes to what Jessica was saying is, you know, the schools are the priorities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we have other facilities, but we gotta make our kids safe and make sure that they're getting
Well, I think since
a
we
quality
came out of the
experience.
global pandemic, we were all forced to endure. We've done pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Have you not driven by Apple or Spirit
Yes.
Lake lately? They look amazing. Just
Even
they're
the
not done
kids
yet.
good,
But they're,
yeah.
they look amazing. It's
Yeah.
it's fun to watch
Kids
those
are getting
going.
excited.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
will be even nicer when there's really clean concrete.
Yes.
Just, you know.
Mike, on your building needs by priority list,
Mhm.
there's only one building that you have listed with a carpet issue, flooring.
Well, because I have it wrapped up probably in an interior renovation.
Okay.
I probably clumped it, which would be part of an interior renovation. However, we could
Right.
do carpet, chip
Okay.
away at it like I was doing years ago.
Okay.
You know, as a because a full interior renovation would be a huge capital project, and you know, I don't know when that would even happen. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's
I
probably
just, in
clumped in
trying
that.
to navigate through your list
Gotcha.
of priorities, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, if you
There's only
look,
one that
so it's
stands
not
out. There's a
necessarily
few of
like,
them that do say
yeah,
that.
individual, like, you know, carpet one line item, I probably clumped, multiple things into
So
a
it's line
priority.
2 and a lot of them interior renovation, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, flooring,
Right.
ADA, bleachers, paint, doors.
Yeah,
So it's kind of lumped into that line item.
Alright, so maybe, I'm not trying to speak for Michelle, but she might be just trying to figure out why one is, that it's called out and,
well, maybe I
did
missed.
we have,
maybe I
was
missed
it a
in
higher
there.
priority in that building? I don't know what
Oh.
building it is.
Timberlake has just flooring at the bottom instead of an interior.
Timberlake
Timberlake
Middle
Middle, right, and again, I'm approaching all these projects based on the highest need, so obviously the
Okay.
oldest buildings are gonna require, you know.
A full interior, but if they don't need a
Yes.
full interior, then carpet is called out on its.
All right,
as
and
a
like,
separate
you know,
part.
carpet, for instance, for Timberlake Middle School shouldn't be like a number 1 or 2 priority. It was built in '06 and the carpet still has life left in it, so,
Right.
anyway, that was my rationalization for how I approach.
Okay.
That
It's just a
makes
huge
sense.
hodgepodge of years of buildings when they were built, and,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, they're all over the board, so.
And we have-
Like I said, as we brought this forward, we were trying to be strategic in things that we thought we could complete that wouldn't necessarily be part of that 7-year useful life that we can use the 18 million for. And so that was part of the thought process as to what we're proposing for the plant facility levy funds.
Okay, wait a minute. What? You're proposing we use plant facility levy money with the hopes that maybe we're not gonna use it, we're gonna use the 18 million? Is that
No.
what you're saying?
For
Okay.
things that we can't use that 18 million on.
Okay,
You
okay.
chipping away at it with
All right.
these funds
Yes,
because we have them
exactly.
right now, start using
Okay.
using
Exactly.
them.
All right.
I just appreciate the board's forward thinking about, our facilities and taking care of them. The fact that we have Lakeland Middle, Athol, Spirit Lake, and John Brown who haven't had any siding work done since they were built in the 60s, it blows my mind that we would have let them go that long. So I do appreciate the board's diligence in this.
On the gym floors, I know there was some conversation, which the board hasn't seen the MOU, but with like the city, do we know anything about that? That they may offer some assistance?
I let me pull it up. Leon just sent it to me today to bring to the board at the August board meetings.
Okay.
Let me just look.
But that was elementary school.
Well,
floors,
it would be
right?
John Brown, Betty Kiefer. It wouldn't be Athol or Spirit Lake or Garwood. Well, actually, it could be Garwood because they do use our Garwood, so it might
Yeah.
be 3 of the 5.
Okay.
Which could be
Okay,
beneficial.
Yeah, I do see.
Right.
I see that now. Sorry, I was in this section and I was looking at the middle school gym floor. I was like, wait, we already approved that project.
Lisa, I don't believe they addressed that in the MOU specifically as a specific line item. I think that was more of a conversational point of things that they could potentially do to help us. I don't think it was actually outlined in the current iteration of the MOU. I just searched the MOU for it. So.
Okay.
Okay, so there is no commitment. Okay.
It's not.
It's not finalized, the MOU, so there we are. So, going back to the playground equipment, trying to ferret out what the priorities are when they're all listed as number 4 on your list. What would you say after Betty Kiefer and Garwood, where would we go next?
We would go John Brown, we would go Athol. Athol has a structure that's old. They've had some new ones put in, but the original structure has been there
Okay.
for 20 years, still there.
Okay.
So if you remember, I had mentioned, I don't remember when, last year, there are several pieces that through the years that we've had to take off.
Right,
And
right.
so, John Brown would be one, and Athol, they're all about the same vintage.
Okay.
And those would be my next two after we were done with Garwood and Betty Kiefer.
Okay.
And then after that, it gets a little bit more strategic, and I have to scrutinize a little bit more because the structures get a little nicer as we go down the line.
Spirit Weeks is nice.
Yeah, they just have one put in.
Okay.
Yeah, so at Spirit Lake, what we'd be looking at would be just swing sets,
Okay.
right? And they're gonna be far less expensive than a full playground structure would be. So if we get through Garwood and Betty Kiefer and then John Brown, one structure at John Brown and then the one structure at Athol, it gives us a little bit of, I'll call it breathing room, and,
Okay.
you know, and it would be, from there, it would be more strategic. It'd be
Okay.
a one at a time scenario,
Okay.
so.
Did we or will we ever put in a playground again for the preschool up at Twin Lakes?
That was purchased this year.
It's in.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
okay.
we have to just, actually, we had to put it together.
Okay.
My crew put it together, all we have to do is, it's where it needs to go, we just have to set it in the ground.
Okay.
But they've got the, I don't know if you guys have been by there, but they've got the
No.
concrete board
Okay.
in that playground, everything looks great.
Okay.
Should be a great little playground for the kids, you know, so,
And they got fencing as well.
yeah,
for it.
fencing, yeah, it's kind of a neat little spot.
Yay,
Okay.
yay,
Yeah.
yay, yay.
It looks really good.
Yeah, we poured the concrete slab so they could ride tricycles on, in there more easily, so. And then the playground equipment
Was a
is
donation.
actually portable, movable, so that if ever
good.
we can't hold
Right.
it there for whatever reason, we can pick the playground up and put it somewhere else.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, yeah, that was
It is
smart.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Good plan.
We did that, I did that based on the fact of the old original
Right.
preschool that's over there, and to try to move that structure, they are so, when they get set in concrete, they are so
Right.
flimsy, to try to delicately pick that out of there and transport it, you're gonna ruin it. So, yeah, I mean, going portable, not knowing what the future holds is a good way to go, I think, on that type of a structure, so.
For the playground equipment.
Right.
And
Right.
the playground equipment and the fence, I think, both came out of that $25,000 donation that we got at the beginning of the first year I was a superintendent.
Yeah, cool. Yay. Yay.
The watering of the fields at Lakeland High School,
Mhm.
do we not have a sprinkler system in to do that? Are we?
We have, Lakeland High School is one of the only sites where we actually have a hand line still. A lot of that site was hand line down at practice field, and then
Right.
years ago, we did a system under timer. So the ends of the bleachers, we have no irrigation, and then in front of above the tennis courts, we have no in-ground irrigation. Now, I got a bid to have that irrigated probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, roughly about 20 grand.
Okay.
To put that all under timer. Doing that would then make all of the district run with in-ground irrigation. So we manage, I mean, we just move pipes, we do it, but yeah, it's not,
It's not very efficient. It's
not ideal. It's
cost
not,
effective.
it's not ideal.
Is that on here somewhere?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
It was just brought to my attention, and I don't see it anywhere, so I think that needs to be a priority.
Do we know, Mike, approximately what that will cost every?
He says
Yeah,
they
it was around
already have
20,000.
it.
I got it,
I
I
missed
last
that,
year,
I'm
the
sorry.
year
That's
before.
okay.
Yeah, I can get an
So
update.
there's-
Everybody,
there's
20,000.
20,000 on I would say
I should
something.
pay better attention.
It was last year, year before.
Yeah, I haven't, it's no problem, I can get an updated, I'll just call the contractor and get an updated price.
What is the inside of I haven't been over to the middle school, what does the inside look like? Does it look as good as the outside now, or does we still have missing ceiling tiles and?
No, the
Painted
inside is
plastic
looking
and-
better.
Okay.
There's, the classrooms look great, they've all been
Okay.
painted.
Crystal's done a great job over there. She's replaced a lot of the tiles and or painted the tiles that were bad. The gym looked really good. The painter did a good job in the gym. I don't know if you guys have gone by and looked at that.
The
It's
gym
really cool.
and the hallway,
Mhm.
and then
And the
those
locker
two
rooms.
bathrooms that are
Yeah.
right outside of the gym are
Mhm.
getting completely retiled with new stalls. They
Good.
are, I peeked in at the tile the other day as they were setting it. It looks amazing. It's
Mhm.
gray.
Oh,
it's not
good.
yellow.
Yeah.
It's so
Oh,
nice
good.
looking.
Oh.
And
it doesn't smell.
Doesn't smell bad.
Nice.
So-
That's a plus.
Yeah.
That's a
And that
huge
was
plus.
a lot of that was donated for those bathroom remodels. And then the mural that the school is paying for will go up in August before school starts. And then, like I said, we'll do the flooring in the bleachers next summer. So that section of the school will look amazing.
Well, it's good if the kids see progress too, that
Yeah.
helps, you know? As long as they
There's
see
buy-in,
progress, they don't
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like
That
they're
was
left out,
the
you
big
know?
conversation
Yeah.
when Freaky wanted to bring that forward is it's hard for the kids to have pride in their school when they're the
Absolutely.
laughing stock when other schools come here. So if we can update the
Mm-hmm.
paint and get the mural and get it started and get it going, we're hoping that there's more buy-in and more pride in their facility.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I was horrified the first time I walked through there. I
Oh,
was like,
me
my
as
God,
well.
I'm surprised anybody shows up here. I felt like I was in Watts or something, South Central LA. I'm not joking, that was
Mhm.
ridiculous.
I am not sad to see those bleachers go. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. I've sat on them
Those
way too
things
many
were
times.
scary.
So the people that donated, how are we repaying them? Do we have a banner we can put up to
So,
say, hey, thank you?
Coleman
you.
Flooring has a banner out there currently.
Oh, okay.
I think Fairway Flooring does too.
Or sorry,
Yeah.
a Fairway Flooring. We could probably do something for AAA because he did donate towards the painting as well. That's why we got such a great price on it. He donated half of the materials for the painting, which was very generous
Yeah.
of him. So, and compared to the quote that was the board received before I came
Yeah,
on board,
thank
like
you.
his pricing was amazing for him to be able to do all of that. And he not only did the gym, he actually did. You'll notice that the project went over just a little bit. It was because he also did the hallway and the locker rooms, and those weren't part of the original scope. But it only went over by $1,000 from what we originally budgeted
that's-
for it.
yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't think you guys would be too upset about that.
Pocket change.
I don't know.
But I think we should do some type of thank you banner for everybody
Mhm.
that's donating, cause
Absolutely.
And put it on
Yeah,
Facebook and
yeah.
everywhere
Can we
because,
just have like I can talk to Jackie, but on the district website, we
could
have
have a
those
running-
scrolling.
That
Can we
ticker-
put,
yeah.
can we put
ticker
that
line.
on our
Mhm.
community page too? No,
Yeah.
we're talking about a community
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
because
to
we do
community
so
businesses.
appreciate these
Yeah.
people. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't
And the
seem to-
taxpayers should really appreciate them too, because, you know, the other nice thing is we could show how much they actually save the taxpayers because they donate.
Well, if you
Right.
look at what
Right.
Lakeland
That-
Junior
I
Taco
was
did
just
for the
gonna say
field,
that everything they're doing with the field, with
that's
the
like
rest
over
of the-
$15,000
Yeah,
for the
I mean,
Lakeland.
that is so
Huge.
important.
And they
It
spent
is.
10,000 on updating the lighting.
They haven't done the lighting yet.
Oh, that's right, they did the field first.
They
I
did the
just
field
don't-
first. It was more of a safety
We
criteria.
have a great community
Yeah.
and we have people that like are so invested and do such a great job and for them, it's all about the kids.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people don't realize how much it actually takes to keep this size of a machine running.
Right.
It takes a lot of money, unfortunately money, and
Yeah.
it costs money to do everything, right? And
And
I think,
inflation in there.
yeah, I just don't, it's so hard sometimes for
gonna
people
be
to understand the cost.
Right,
Mhm.
and
The restrooms on the soccer field too. The restrooms.
Yep.
That was all
Yeah, all of
donated.
that project, yep.
Do you like
Not-
that? I thought of Lynn, I had to buy it.
What?
I'm gonna be on camera.
My face does-
You thought of me?
Yeah, cause you're always saying, fix your face. Fix your face.
To me.
I want that shirt.
That's a good shirt for you. It
I was
not
like,
only.
I don't feel like I always have facial expressions. You said that
You
my
do,
eyes.
I do. It's like, oh, I gotta wear
Not
it.
only does it cost us money, but there are specific skill sets that sometimes
Yes.
things need that we don't have on
Right,
staff.
absolutely.
We have community members who have those skill sets, so when they share them with us,
Yep.
we need to be thanking them for it.
Yeah.
I just appreciate
Absolutely.
everybody and they're just so committed to our district and our kids.
Yes.
Timberlake Fieldhouse too. That's another prime example.
They just
Right,
got
oh,
another
yeah.
$100,000
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
from the
that's
Coeur d'Alene tribe.
yeah,
Can
that's
we
unreal.
also get Director Ferriola a list of all of the properties owned by the district, please, and make sure that he knows that of
I hope
every
there's not
piece
more.
of property that we have, 'cause
I don't think.
I hope not, geez.
okay, but let's just make sure
That
that.
was a little overwhelming when I went over there, I'm like, Yeah, it was overwhelming.
And,
That's important to know, though.
and that piece of property became a dumping site for the contractors in that subdivision.
Lovely.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's riddled with a lot of debris. I'm nervous of the, kids out there, so we're gonna mark it, we're gonna tag it, and then get it to a state that I can actually maintain it, which is,
Mike actually ordered additional no trespassing signs, so we're going to put them on that piece of property as well as the one up in Apple.
Good.
And then up on the property behind.
Yeah.
The hill.
No, we asked about the
oh, okay.
Well, I would like to see the irrigation for the high school go on for, the proposed 2025. It's nowhere here, but it could easily replace the VCT tile
Okay.
for Garwood and Betty Kiefer cafeteria.
The irrigation you're wanting for next summer?
I'd like it this summer, that's what's gonna happen, so.
Well, I don't know. Once I make contact, it might, it could. I don't know. I mean, it could be something that they do in the fall before they close.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just need confirmation on the timeline.
Would that be an
That's all.
issue with football?
It's on the sides.
It's unintrusive. I mean, they're in and out. It wouldn't take them too long to do it.
I would say take it out, I would say take 20,000 out of the carpet, the 390 on the carpet to
my
do.
Other one was potentially the building repairs, since we are bringing forward at that 100,000 from last year, we could do 180 and do 20 for the irrigation, leaving some money. Either way, it's one or the other. We're doing a continuation of carpet on that 390, so we can work within the budget and get as much as we can get done with a 370 if we did that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger number. I'm with Randy to do that, because if we did look like we were gonna go over, then we could go to the 200 and
Right.
say we'll take
Yeah.
the.
So,
Jimmy will be so happy.
Let's
Right.
save that for like actual repairs to things rather than
right,
Right, cause if a boiler
grading
goes
or
out, it's
updating.
50 to 70,000.
Exactly.
yeah.
So
that's a
I've
lot.
made a copy of that initial sheet that we're working on, and I'm gonna update it so that we have an approved document when we're done. So, if you're in that workbook right now, you'll see that I've made a copy, and then I'll be adding that line item for you
Okay.
in there and adjusting.
That'd be awesome.
Everybody can see if I'm typing incorrectly.
He's still fixated on your shirt.
Yeah.
I want it.
Okay, so that adjustment has been made.
It's like my disclaimer. It's like, oh, you didn't read my shirt, sorry.
That's your problem.
I will say, Ramona, when I interviewed Trustee Grissom, I did tell him, they asked what one of my weaknesses was, and the first thing that popped out of my mouth is, I do not have a poker face. I have tried for years, it doesn't happen.
Yep. Yep, I hear you.
Are there any other adjustments or any other projects you would like us to try and tackle this next fiscal year?
Well, I'm curious on the parking lot, what is it? Is it a complete re-asphalting, restriping? What is it?
It could be a combination. So parking lots were another thing that came to a halt that I was trying to,
Right.
Stay up on, because if a parking lot gets too far gone, now you're talking about a total tear out, right?
Right.
So, I believe a lot of the numbers that I put in here are gonna be preventative.
So
They're gonna be crack sealing, striping,
Okay.
seal coat, that kind of stuff.
the lower the dollar amount for it is more of your maintenance. If you
Okay.
look at John Brown and Garwood and Timberlake High School, those are like, we have a lot of major work to do there.
Areas need to be tore out and redone. Spirit Lakes parking lot needs to be completely tore out and redone, because when they did it originally, the grade isn't right.
Yeah, it's fun up there.
We've actually had,
It's bumpy and.
Yeah.
we've actually, not only that, we've actually had water come off, the roof, 2 gutters, and actually then go back in towards the building, which is not good. So that actually has to be completely tore out. And that
But
number I
it's such a
gave
tiny
there
parking lot.
was actually a hard number I got from a contractor. I think it was 75,000. I
And we
believe
made
that
it
was
80.
right on the money.
Parking lots are something that can come out
At
of
the
the 18
Yeah.
million.
Right.
So just keep that in the back of your mind.
I was just curious because we've got it pretty delineated, and I was curious.
Yeah.
What are we?
We're just trying to
Yeah.
give some options
Okay.
of things that we think we could definitely get done in the next year, not that would be chargeable to plant facility levy without having to necessarily go full on. 7 years, I don't know if striping and sealing would last 7 years. It's usually like a 4-year warranty, 3-year warranty. So
Yeah.
to me, that's more of a plant facility project versus a capital project. If it's a full new parking lot, I anticipate that would last the 7 years. So I feel more comfortable using the 18 million for a full parking lot, if that makes sense.
That's what I was
Gym
talking about,
floors
yes.
would fall under the capital.
Yes,
project.
gym floors would fall under capital
That's
projects.
I mean, that is kind of a big deal for our
Mhm.
elementary schools.
Believe it or not, parking lots are one of them that I get the most requests for from principals. Every summer, my parking lot gonna get striped, and I'm like, well, I was on a schedule, and it got disrupted,
It's a
and
paint sprayer.
I wanna get
I know.
going
There's
on
always
it
a
again.
solution.
And then just to throw this out here, I know we're talking specifically for this fiscal year, but as we are not running a plant facility levy for next year, we're going to have to be extremely strategic in how we budget next fiscal year, because we will only be able to operate within the confines of what we have in the general fund for facilities maintenance, without a plant facility levy.
Okay.
Caveat for the future, nothing to decide tonight, just a side note.
Yeah, they took away all of our money for facility maintenance.
Okay.
And the money that, like we discussed earlier, that lottery money, we were actually able to pay maintenance salaries out of that. We can't do that with plant facility levy funds or these capital funds that we're
Mhm.
receiving, so.
So we ran the supplemental, not the plant facility.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we haven't run it yet, we're working on it.
You approved
Yeah.
to run.
No, I know that. I'm thinking back.
No, we have both right now.
Okay, so when are we having the lapse?
So the lapse will be, if we don't run a plant facility levy this year in conjunction with the supplemental levy, we will not have facility funding in 26, which is
Or
next year.
Or we could do the plant facility levy in May,
Mhm.
which would give us time to really educate our patrons about why we're running a facility levy when we're getting facility dollars.
Mhm.
And not run them together and put either one of them in jeopardy.
So right now, our current one runs out the 24-25 school year.
So at the end of this fiscal
And
year.
then this November, you guys approved for us to run another 2 years
Right.
starting. But we only did supplemental, not plant, so either we have to talk about plant, or we talk about running plant in May, or we don't and leave it as is.
And I will say this,
Okay.
this information about the 7-year specific literally just came around. As the state is learning and sharing more information with the bonding process and the requirements of the funding with the bonds, that's where some of these constraints. So it's like every time we have a meeting, there's a new constraint that's thrown our way on what we can and cannot do with this funding, so.
More streams.
Yep. There will be a lot of
The state
reporting
is,
attached to
Yeah,
that.
the state is bonding $1.3 billion.
$1 billion to do this.
And they're gonna use sales tax to make their
Sales
bond
tax revenue.
payments.
And our lottery money.
And our lottery money, yes.
Sorry, I just had to, I'm very bitter about losing that money.
Am I gonna look at her shirt? It's gonna be my go-to. We just need to like hang it.
Yeah. Just point to it.
That'll just be like my screensaver.
But we could have it stickers on all of
Yeah.
our.
I think I texted somebody, I'm like, hey.
Yeah. Okay. So for fiscal year 26, if we don't run the plant facility levy, we will not have dollars to figure out how to prepare maintenance schedules.
Unless it's a capital asset that we could
Okay.
bridge the 18, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's just a thing that I wanted to put out there, that in the back of our minds, that we're gonna have to look at that down the road.
Especially with the 7-year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and we don't know what that final decision will be, because until we actually start seeing, well, and they can change the rules mid-game on this
I'm
too.
hoping not, I really hope
Pull that
not.
money back.
Well, and that's the only reason they would pull it back is if they were not collecting enough sales tax revenue in order to make the payment.
Mhm.
So that's me being fiscally conservative and saying I wanna save all the interest to make sure I can pay them back if they decide to do that. If we spend all 18 million right up front, that would put the district on the hook for that. So I think we need to be strategic in how, unless we're doing something that's gonna cost us 15 million right out the door, I think we just be strategic. and how we're rolling out these projects. We have a full 10 years to get them completed, and I think that we just need to be very strategic in how we do that.
And you did not bring forward running a plant facility levy? Okay.
Again, we
Because
thought,
they didn't know that there was that constraint of the 7-year.
yep, we thought we were gonna be able to
Just use it.
use it like we use the plant facility levy. We literally just found out that 7-year thing last week. That's why it did get brought forward, because we thought we would be like, okay, we can use some of this for this.
This didn't
and-
feel like it was right.
Okay.
Right, so
All right.
that's why there's that shift.
Okay.
Thank you. You're my interpreter tonight, and I
That's
appreciate it.
Just try to follow where the ball's bouncing, that's all.
It
just
is.
didn't feel like it was
It's
the-
a hard one to
Didn't feel like it was
follow.
the right thing to do.
It's hard to explain to the community, especially, I know Governor Little had gone around and gave out checks, and the state was like, that was great, ignore what he did, cause it's not necessarily gonna work that way, depending on how the district elects to take the money, depending on, bonding and all of that stuff. It really, so it's an uphill battle to make sure.
We're grateful.
Checks their butts couldn't cash.
We are grateful.
We are
but-
super, super grateful. It's just the constraints on it. It really is. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's here's some money, but we took this away from you, and here's the constraints you have to work in, and everything you thought you were going to be able to do is not necessarily going to happen.
Okay.
So basically, just so you guys know, 5 million of the 18 million that we're going to get is actually
Lost revenue.
money that they took away from us and now they're giving back to us, but they have constraints on it.
Yeah.
Because it's $500,000 a year for us that they took
For
away
the
through
revenue we
the
lost.
lottery dollars and the bond equalization fund. And they use that to help pay for the 18 million over here, so.
So really, we're talking about
13 million,
13 million.
roughly.
Which is.
Why bother? I mean.
And it's
So
hard to,
1.3 million
Yeah,
for
it's
per
grateful,
year for
but
10 years.
it's very close to what we already
what
levy
our
for plant
plant
facility
facilities levy is, but
which is why it's like,
with more constraints than
Right.
what we.
and it's not in the general fund, so it's literally like that lottery money we could use for salaries. We cannot use this money for salaries.
Mhm.
So
So
it's
that means
just
all of our facilities.
it's out of the general
has to
fund.
be moved into general fund fiscal year 26.
And it has been in the general fund.
Oh, they are in
But the
it?
revenue was in the general fund as well. Now we're out that
Oh.
revenue. So as of this year, this current fiscal year, all of facilities is coming out of general fund dollars. So the supplemental levy is helping pay for our facility workers, because that's part of our classified staff based on salary-based apportionment. So it's basically that state-based support is what we're using plus supplemental levy to be able to do facilities.
Just to pay for our.
Just to pay for our people, and then we use our discretionary to basically provide the operational budget for them.
I'm tired now.
Right.
The last couple months have been exhausting.
After that whole spiel.
Well, do we have any more perspectives or thoughts on what we want to do for the 2025
Yes.
budget? Okay.
So if we go back to when we went to the principals and we asked them, you know,
Right.
what does your list look like for your
Right.
school? Well, I noticed on the consolidated list that everybody had hardwood, the floors for the gym and bleachers, but when I go to the tabs and look at what the principals say, they didn't say that. A couple did. So I found that interesting, but a lot of what Spirit Lake and Athol were talking about, and even the junior high, a lot of that has been mitigated by what we've already done. They all are asking, including Twin Lakes, or Twin up there, they're asking also for their parking lots to be done. But my question is, did we upgrade the lighting up at Athol?
The building lighting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the gym?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, and I do remember they've brought this up many times, and I keep spacing it off, the master clock. So none of the clocks work, or the bell system in the gym / cafeteria area Did we ever fix that? or-
No, so that's
What's
something,
the
so,
actual name of that?
Principal facility needs list.
so the bells and the clocks and such are with the exception of a couple of the newest schools, are a district-wide huge issue.
I know, but I'm talking about Athol right now. I
No,
don't
so they're
care
running
what
everything
everybody
through, they're
else
running
is.
it all
Okay.
through the phones.
All right, so
Yeah.
how can we fix Athol's, so at least they have some clocks that would work? Because it is true, whenever you're in the gym area, you can't tell what time it is or anything.
So the way the future is going now, that's all tech-based type of scenario. So what we have to do is get a bid from a contractor to come in and essentially wire the entire school. It would be
So there's
rather
no way
costly.
that we can't put a clock in there that works?
The problem is not necessarily with the clock, it's with the wiring. The wiring is so old, we run into this at a lot of the old buildings. We run into problems where conduit
Okay.
breaks underground and we lose connection. It's a little deeper than just replacing the mechanical clock, which is why we've sat on it and we haven't moved on it, because we don't know what to do with it. We don't go the tech route, which is the way everybody's going. That's requires us getting a contractor to give us a bid to find out what that would cost. And I'm not that versed in that type of
But that
project.
that could be something that we look at the 18 million
Sure.
for.
Yeah, so
But-
that needs to be put on somebody's list so we don't lose sight of it, because if that, I don't know if that's the only school or we have other
No,
schools.
so we've
or-
got, like I said, it's all of the, I think I might have even referenced,
I'm just familiar and it was on their list here.
So this looks like it was last updated in 22-23. I didn't even know this existed. Maybe we could reach back out and clean up some of this, like for example,
updated.
Athol,
Yeah,
the citing and stuff. So we could potentially bring that back forward.
We can add it on to our August agenda with the admin to update their priority list.
yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to look at it because this is the last thing we had for them was last school
I
year.
referenced clocks on
Yeah.
there.
Right.
I did it in
Yeah.
a document somewhere. Pick a school
And
like Apple.
then Garwood, when I opened their tab, it's like, oh yeah, we keep forgetting, they don't have any room. Like, where did we, in the last thing I remember, we contacted DEQ, or maybe it was Panhandle Health about the septic. And
We can build on to
Yeah,
that.
it's on there.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
can
approval
build
for that,
on that.
and they're projected for this fall, they're supposed to only be like 350, and at the time when that was written, they were sitting closer to 5, but they're like at 350, 360, but we did get approval
When we
to-
did the realignment, that helped kind of ease
Okay.
some of that pressure.
Right, so that, we can't lose sight of that either because, but the other thing that they had said also was, what is the deal with their bathrooms? Why do they have such problem with their bathrooms? They're constantly out of order or not working?
Where's this at?
Garwood?
I'm not aware of any constant issues there. Well, at least I'm not aware of it related to work orders being submitted.
Yeah, it says their bathrooms are frequently out of order. Despite the effort and expertise of the facility, they continue to be a problem. Old facilities just need to be updated.
I have
They
to-
think it's a septic thing,
And
but,
it's not, because
Yeah.
the Panhandle Health guy came
Yeah.
out, he actually was very impressed with the district. When they put that septic system in 1990, the building opened, fall of 91. They have everything on that they would require now by code, and it
Mhm.
wasn't code then, but it's huge, and it has some different lift stations.
Yeah, we've got it's two pump lift station.
Yeah.
What I chose to do when I first came on was the service interval on the septic systems at Athol and Garwood there was no like routine to it. I made the decision that every single year I'm going to service the septics at those two schools, because that's something that could shut a building down like this, right?
Right.
Athol was so bad in the septic up front, I couldn't even tell you the last time it was pumped. It was so hard, I mean, it took the guys like 3 days to even get through it. So I chose that every summer, that's part of on my summer list to do, to keep up on it. What I can tell you is that across the district, we get daily work orders for restrooms, and we have fished out, you name it, we fished it out.
Oh, I
through it,
bet,
right?
yeah, but it
So
just seems that these
I'm not
guys-
aware
Yeah.
specifically of an ongoing problem at Garwood. I'm not,
Okay.
I'll have
I
to
took
check
a
with
note
Jake.
so that we can
Okay.
check
Yeah.
in with Jay.
That's a
Um,
And
definite
maybe
follow-up.
it is just kids
right.
Well, every call we
Partner in the
get,
bathroom.
that's what it is, it's an obstruction of some
Mhm.
sort. You know, I mean, barring mechanical failure on like, you know, flushometers and things like that, that happens frequently, but I just don't know of a constant problem out there, so,
Have
But-
has the boilers been updated at Twin yet?
no. So the boilers at Twin, we've got 5 boilers there. I wanted to get ahead of it and replace them with a single boiler, however, it's not an emergency situation. You know, we can get through some other projects ahead of that.
Would a boiler be 7 years? Like useful life?
A useful life, it would be more than that.
Yeah, so that's something we can use the 18
Yeah.
million for as well.
Well,
Yeah.
and you may want to note down, because I did look on several of the elementary schools, if we're doing the gym floors with, out of that 18 million, a lot of them have requested new
Yeah,
bleachers because they're
almost all of
broken,
them.
they're not, I mean,
And I
that
think
would
you
have
have
to go
to,
into
because
maintenance.
I think they're so old that the moment you pull them out and you pull
Yeah.
the carpet.
Yeah,
the wood bleach,
I-
all
Ideally,
existing.
if we're gonna do gym floors, I would just like to, in conjunction, do bleachers, because
Yeah.
they were already gonna do the floor.
Well, that's what I'm
Might as
asking
well just
for.
do it
Yeah.
at the same time, and so we're not having to mess up the new
That's
flooring.
what I'm asking for.
Yeah,
Well, and you won't be able to put the old wood
No.
bleachers back in there.
The goal would be to get rid of all the old wood bleachers, they need to go.
Okay, back to Garwood. The other thing they asked for was card readers at the entrance from the playground.
All of our schools have,
That's all done?
and
Okay.
we're still working on it, that
Okay.
it was in conjunction with the cameras, and so, we don't even have the card readers yet, we've ordered them, we don't have them.
Oh,
That
We're
was
just
a supply
waiting on
chain
that.
issue.
okay, but I mean,
Yeah.
technically, it's,
It's in
It's a
process,
done
it's
deal.
in
Yeah.
process.
all right,
Yep,
that's fine.
and I don't know that the other elementaries put it on their priority list, but we did that for all of the elementaries, just because that was a safety
It
issue.
needed, yeah.
And all of them, just like Mike was saying, they've all requested their parking lots be
Mhm.
Right.
striped.
They usually do, it's a
and,
pretty hot,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is the cost for that?
If we do just the striping and sealing, Director Ferriola has it on here, I have, let's see.
And those are pretty accurate numbers, those are numbers that I pulled from when I stopped. It's all based on the site size,
TMS is that Richter,
Timberlake Mill.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if we did the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 schools that just need seal and striping, it would be 150,000. So that's Apple, Betty Keeper, Timberlake TLE, Lakeland High School, Mountain View, and Lakeland Middle School.
And those are all the ones that principals specifically asked
So
on this.
we
Okay.
could, because carpeting has a lifespan of more than 7 years.
We could bump that.
bump the carpeting off and wait for the 18 million, because we can't do striping with the 18 million.
I
Yeah.
do know we received a facility project request specifically for Betty Keeper's carpet.
It's so bad.
So did Apple ask for the primary area?
Yeah,
To
because
be
Mike
done.
had started up there, but
Yeah.
he was told to stop, so, he
Well,
did.
doesn't
Both
Betty Keeper
those-
have the original carpet?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
30 years
And
old.
it smells.
Right, but we'll have the 18 million this year, so all I'm suggesting is these parking lot stripings, we can't use the
Right.
18 million
Yeah.
for, but we
Right.
can use it for the carpet, so.
Well, we could take the, what did you say it was, 150?
Mhm.
Out of the carpet continuation
And just bump it down.
bump
Yep.
down
I can do that
schools.
very
Yep.
easily. Do you want me to make that adjustment on this document?
Yeah, that'd
Yes.
be great, so we could at
Yeah.
least
So
see.
just for those 6 that we talked about that do not have to have repair, yep.
parking lot striping, one thing to keep in mind is that is generally something that needs to be planned for in advance so we can get on their list for the summer. Those guys book up quick. So to try to cram something in right now would be extremely,
I don't think anybody's asking for it to
Okay.
be crammed in right this second.
okay,
Because we are putting it on the 2025
okay,
budget.
good.
So for the 24 to 25
Okay.
Just
school
have one of them
year.
by June 30th next year.
I think if you
Well,
ran an
yeah,
ad,
we'd be
we'd
on their
get,
list, but, oh yeah.
What's
yeah.
that?
I said, I think if we ran an ad, we'd get, I know people in the business
Right.
that are out looking for
Right.
work, so that, everybody else might be filled up, and they do have public works licenses, so I think you would get bids.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it would get done this year. We have to try, we can't just say nope. We
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
try.
Mike was just saying it may not happen before school starts, to be able to get, but maybe there are people out there that are looking for work, I don't know, so we'll It's out.
Where's that copy of that?
Because it's 6 different sites.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit Lakes is the most, I guess. We can't do each site separately, or we're gonna
I have
lump
to
it
put it
together.
together.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then that puts us over the 50.
Yep. That's why
I was just trying to avoid the length of the actual
Yeah.
RFP process.
Yeah, if I could do, if we stay, if this comes in at below 150, I would just have to do the 3 quotes. If it comes above 150, I have to go out for a sealed bid. So, it's that 150 mark.
Okay. So if it's less than 150, do we have to publish the RFP and do all that?
Nope, I can just
Perfect.
request bids,
Okay.
request quotes. So as long as the
The
quotes
quotes
come in
has-
under 150, we're good to go.
Okay. Do you have names, Ramona, of
I can,
companies
I
that
don't
you
know
can
their
share?
business name, but yeah, I mean,
If you could share that with
Yeah.
me, then we'll make sure we reach out to them for a quote and see
Yeah.
if
yep, I will do that.
Do they have to have any special licensing to work with?
Public Works
Public
licensing,
Works,
yeah.
okay.
So I did go ahead and move, do you want me to add, well, TMS would put us at, they have actual repair work that they have to be done, right? We have to tear out some, at Timberlake Middle.
Yeah, a small section.
Okay, so that would put us over the amount. So I did add those and I dropped the carpet continuation down to 220.
Is your guys is updating as she does that?
You
Yeah.
have to go to
You
the
gotta go
second
to the
tab.
other tab.
Another
The
tab.
copy on the
created a
bottom.
new
There's
tab.
2 tabs.
I know, I did the same thing. I'm like, where's the copy? Oh, there it is.
I just wanted to keep an original
Yeah.
and then our working document for
Yep.
you to approve.
It's like it's not updated.
I promise it is. Any other adjustments that you would like to see?
I thought you were taking the 150 from the 390.
I did.
Oh.
Yep.
And then the 100 is separate. Okay, sorry.
And it actually came out of 370 because we had already taken 20,000
Right.
out
For the irrigation. Yep.
Irrigation.
Good job. It was a good job, like you kept it all. I didn't
Oh.
remember all those
Oh.
details.
It wasn't sarcasm, she was.
Okay.
genuine.
You're
Yeah,
like,
I know, I was
No, I was like, I didn't remember all of
If it
that.
would have been me, that could have really maybe been construed as sarcasm, but no.
I was being legit. Like, the fact you remembered all of that.
So it's the number
Junior high
thing.
needs, the middle school needs so much
got
work.
you.
every
We
time
live
look
in
at
that
I know, we
world.
just live in that
Just
world, but
live.
the numbers just kind of flip.
Which one? Like,
Yeah, middle school next door, it's like, every time I look at their list, it's like, ugh. I mean, a lot of it, we did a lot,
Yeah.
but there's just other things they had put. But it does look like that there is a ruling, and I think that's because we did the other school bleachers, so they're like, oh, well, we want bleachers.
Well,
Lakeland's are pretty bad.
the
Yeah.
middle
Middle
school,
school.
the previous principal said,
Bosch did.
Right.
I don't want,
Right.
we were ready to do new bleachers,
Yes.
and she said, I would rather have
Right.
something else instead. So we said, do that, but now
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, we need bleachers.
And
Okay.
I can say on Lakeland Middle School, if we're looking at that principal facility needs list, I
Uh-huh.
will say the top 3 items are happening
Yeah,
or have happened.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting to
Right.
see when we take this back to the admin team,
Mhm.
if their priorities change now that we've done so much, you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
And if
Right.
we can tell them, yes, we're doing this, this, and this
Yeah.
this year, then I'm sure that
Well, they're
there'll be
getting new
more things
bleachers.
to take their place.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is,
Oh, yeah.
One of the things
I
that
don't want new bleachers.
in looking at Lakeland Middle School, one of the things that I would be in support of, I guess, with regard to the 18 million, not the plant facility, is that track, because
Yeah.
we have kids running on that track, and every time I see them running, I just cringe because there are rocks and holes and it's.
Out here at the
Yes.
middle school?
It's so not safe for
It's
them to be running
it's a
on.
dirt gravel-ish
Mhm.
track.
It's terrible.
it's like Mountain View had no
And I don't-
requests.
I know.
That
That's what
made me
Michelle just
sad.
said.
I'm like,
It's
how could
what?
they not have a request?
Yeah. I mean, somebody did add them over here, I noticed, but,
Cause it was so little, they just
Yeah.
ended up on the
It's like-
summary instead of having, yeah.
But prior to doing this, I had used, this, as an assistant superintendent, I had used my secondary budget. And I gave Mountain View quite a bit of money, so we painted and we bought furniture and the kids had a
Okay.
lot of say with
Okay.
regard to what it was going to look like and what they wanted. So that might be part of why there's
Yeah.
not as much there.
Is that part of
I-
the greenhouse thing too?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
I started working
How
closely
big?
with Paul, I just felt like that's, the kids in that school were kind of, felt like the ugly right in his
He's got some new appliances too.
So we're right
I'm gonna put in right now.
Yeah.
The summary.
We put the
yeah.
shower
Here.
in.
Right.
No,
Right.
on that other sheet,
Yeah, facility
if you go to the front of it.
What's the deal with the window in the principal's office
The
at Betty
principal one.
Kiefer?
There's something wrong with the window.
Oh, she wants a window put in?
Yeah.
Yeah. She just wants a
Just so
window.
she can, to see outside or to see in the school?
I think it would be, no, she wants, so she'd be looking into the office.
She's not in the principal's office anymore,
Oh.
she moved up to where the counselor used to be when I was there.
Two little things.
And so it's,
But
when you
they're
walk
there,
into
but
Betty
they're not
Kiefer and you walk into the
entire
office, it's the
sections.
very first office.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's no
Nothing.
outdoor.
Yeah.
They just stop.
Oh,
They
it
stop.
rolls
But
in.
before, when
She
we
wanted to be able
had,
to see who's coming in.
our rooms were back to back
You
and
know, it's
wanted to
been
be
long
able
enough now, I don't
to,
remember, I think I got her.
Yeah.
a bid.
and then if somebody was watching a kid, whatever,
I haven't heard her
so.
talk about it
She
in a
needs to
while.
see out, yeah,
Mhm.
gotcha.
The other thing at Betty Kiefer that is a need and not a want, and will be expensive, is, room 15 is a classroom in which kids are all day long, and it has one exit.
Does it
And-
have a window or anything?
No.
Oh, no, oh, yeah.
No, and so when Guy was here and I was the principal, I worked with Tom Taggart to try to put, I just said, we have to have at that point, it was a first grade classroom. We have to have a window in this,
Yeah.
this is not to code, I don't know how we
With the
got,
egress, yeah.
I don't know how we
yeah.
got by with
Mhm.
that, but, so I
Oh,
pushed
man.
for a couple of years, Tom finally kinda started to look into it. But it required some engineering because of the cinder block wall on the exterior, so it could be kind of expensive, but if we're gonna have kids in that classroom all day long, for me, that's a
Her
high
numbers are
need.
down though, so I don't know, right now
But
she
that's
has,
Mary's classroom,
it's ALP.
so kids are in that, not the same kids all day long, but kids are in that classroom.
Well,
all
anybody,
day.
even
Yeah.
employees, if there was an emergency or something happened, that would, we'd
But-
feel pretty bad if
But my
they couldn't
point
get out.
is, it doesn't have to, she might have space now to not use it as a classroom because her numbers are down. I feel like we use every ounce of everything, like that's just the nature of the beast, but
Right.
there was a time when it absolutely had to be, we didn't have a choice, cause
Right.
I would say the same thing for the room off from the cafeteria, there's only one exit,
Can
and
we
we
check
had it
on
as a
that?
classroom.
Yeah, can we check on that?
Mike,
I'm sorry,
I'm
what's
gonna put it
that?
on my list, but.
Putting a
can-
window?
Can we look at
Room
putting a window
15?
in room 15, that would be
I'll actually have,
an egress?
Unless the
And-
board has any heartburn over it, I'll actually have Emmerich look into it and
Just
have,
give us an idea. of what
architects
it
West, check it out, have an architect look at it and see what we need to do.
But that would be, then you have to look at the one at Garwood, cause they have a room too. It's where Jesse was last year.
It's a
Same.
classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we
Same
have
exact.
any, I would
When you
think
go
that would
down the
definitely.
intermediate hallway, it's
It's
the
just
same.
flipped,
Is
the
that
building is
that,
flipped,
is that
yeah.
the one that, does it back up to the gym?
It backs up to the bathrooms.
The bathroom.
Right, yeah, the
So
first
I don't know how
classroom
you
on the
would get
right.
out. How would you get out of there?
No, the bathrooms, so here's the room, the bathrooms are here, and there's that little pathway here, and then the outer perimeter is the
Yeah, that
entryway
makes
to the
sense.
outside, but it's the same makeup as Betty Kiefer, so it's
Yeah,
both
Both
rooms.
those buildings. Okay.
Yeah, if we have others in the district, might as well look
Those
at
are
all
the
of
only
them.
two that have the same
Floor plan.
Make
floor
sure that
plan.
this
Asphalt happening, because now would be the time to do it.
They have all of their rooms have
They have exit doors.
Yeah,
exit
they're-
doors. John Brown's the same way, Spirit Lake's the same
Way
way.
they were built.
Twin is the same way in the sense of,
They all have windows.
they have
I-
windows.
I think it's unique to Garwood and Betty Kiefer.
Yeah, I just think it's that floor plan. But then you'd also have to check if that room off of the cafeteria, if they're using it as a classroom, typically it's storage or SLP space, but that just has the door.
I know Garwood was using that room for storage. but I don't know if
I
they
mean, when we
changed.
were maxed,
Mhm.
we definitely used it as a
Garbage
classroom.
Yeah.
that one
It's
is
been,
like, the
it's
one that
been a
Base
while.
used to use, I think it's being used for,
Her base was in there or something.
Base was in
Mhm.
there, but it's, they have a student, like just one or two students in there during the day.
Base used it to store their stuff and then they
Oh,
house the
okay.
kids in the cafeteria.
Base
but-
still houses in the cafeteria, but there's that one room,
Mhm.
like I can picture it.
But depending on cost, and just my
Yeah.
point is our numbers are down, and so it could be a situation in the interim.
Yeah.
We don't use it as a classroom in the interim if we're concerned about
Until
that.
we can.
Yeah, it'd be good just to look, I mean, they should have, well, I mean, I don't know, we always get bombarded right when school starts. I would say they might have an idea of what their numbers are gonna be by now,
Right now, we're
maybe.
500 students down, so I'm hoping that we have people who have not enrolled yet.
Yeah, that's been heartburn all summer.
But remember, we've never done it this early before,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we have no way of being able to.
I'd be super happy if we came out
A little ahead.
a little ahead, but right now, I have anxiety.
Yeah.
So please register your children.
Yep. We will be hosting a table at Bathroom Days on Saturday.
We heard.
The late shift.
Yeah.
The 4 to 7.
Oh.
Told them I'm having Zachary and my husband, and I promised Zachary Dairy Queen.
Yes.
That's a good break.
Yeah. So, but we will have registration information and we're making it fun and interactive, but there will also be some levy information or opportunities to ask questions about the levies. Trying to get out
And a
there.
lot of our
Good,
people are
good.
probably just in the habit of, you know,
That's what I'm
Just do it
hoping.
right
Yeah.
before.
or the day
It'll
of.
take a little, it'll take a
Right.
little, even our staff didn't have their kids registered by
Yeah,
the time we asked.
It's just, it's new.
yeah, yeah, everybody's used to that.
It'll take a little while to build a habit
Mhm.
for our patrons.
Okay. I think, I mean, we got a couple of them had, we already covered the concrete thing. The gym floors and all that are on the other list, right? Way down there at the
Oh,
bottom.
that's pretty
Email it to me.
I'm just gonna call it interior rooms additional
Okay,
address.
perfect.
It's room 15 at Betty Cooper,
Yeah,
but I don't
I
know
know.
what the room number is at Garwood. Do not remember.
I know where it's at.
Yeah, that's it. That would be a huge undertaking.
What's that?
The electrical panel and stuff at the middle school.
Mm.
Just go to Home Depot, get a new one.
If it were
We don't have to
that easy.
complicate things.
We're doers get more done.
That's right.
That was a nice plug, nice plug.
You've not spent any time there, huh?
Nope. I feel like I live there sometimes. Yeah. Yep.
It does have
Where is this? Oh, the high school.
It does have everything.
Lakeland, they were saying concrete behind the softball and baseball backstops.
Well, they're slated to get concrete work done.
Behind the
Yeah,
backstops.
It would be included in there?
No, they wanted down on the baseball field,
Uh-huh.
behind the backstop where the bleachers are, they wanted to pour a huge concrete pad back there to put the bleachers on. That would be way outside the scope of work that
Oh,
we're looking at doing.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be
so.
a completely
That's a
different
nice to
project.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, and,
That's not a
I mean,
must-have.
and I believe they
Yeah,
put rock there,
that's a
they've since
want,
put
not
rock
a
there.
I
They
would like
rocked
to
it,
put
so.
boilers in buildings before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, they
Mhm.
have it as a number one.
Yeah, well, they went the rock route, I believe.
I think that was a
Yeah.
different principle.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be Jimmy's priority.
I'm sure that those are just things that they hear from the community because people are sitting in those bleachers and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah, what
that's
is the deal
only
with the
experience
elevator up at
some people
Timberlake?
have.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I know. Is there any way to make it work?
So I checked
or-
into that a couple of years ago, and due to the age, we have to start over. They won't certify that old of an elevator.
That'll be a capital project.
It would be a capital project, I don't know that
Hopefully it would last over 7 years.
it would, I don't know that I got a bid for that, I'm trying to remember now. if I did, but I think you're somewhere in the 150-ish range.
150,000?
Mhm.
No, that's not as much
Yeah,
as I thought it was.
so, but I did get far enough to check to see if it was, we could work with what we had, and he said no.
No.
Based on the age, there's no way they would certify anything that we would do to it to get it running. So, it's a shame that it's a shame that it got to that point.
Right,
I know a
right.
little bit of the story, and, it just
Yeah.
baffles my brain.
What does there aren't classrooms that goes to?
It,
Is
it,
it?
the weight room.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the weight room,
Yeah.
okay. And storage, I know there's storage up there, but.
Yeah, and the mat rooms up there, our, stuff that we maintain, the boiler rooms up there and things like that, it would be, kind of nice at times to have that up and running. It's a huge ADA issue.
Right, that's what they.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Lakeland's
definitely
weight
wanna-
room is a huge ADA issue also, but we don't have an elevator in that building, because you have to go up the stairs.
And then, slats in the fence. They're saying safety. Did we do anything up there with fence, or we used all the fence money at Twin Lakes and
Which school are you looking at?
Timberlake High School? They said, the safety issue, the west side of the campus is, compromised with buildings and traffic.
The west side
The
is?
west side? Yeah.
Where
they-
the gas station is?
Yeah, they said the
Mhm.
west side, because the slats, chain link, fence slats,
I don't understand, I'm not following that.
yeah, like maybe there's no slats.
There are
in
no
there?
There are no
slats in
slats.
that, so
Oh,
they're
yeah.
probably asking for it.
Yeah,
Oh, they wanna add slats so that you're not seeing on that back fence
Yeah,
line? I got you.
yeah.
In the, where the gas station is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I
Justify
don't
that
think we
one.
would need city approval for that because it's not
I
on
don't
the
know, the
highway.
problem with slats
We
is you
needed
gotta
city
you
approval
gotta
for
watch out for
Spirit
wind
Lake
shear.
Because it was on the highway. But we'd have to look
yeah, okay,
into it. And we've been updating his cameras, so,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and some of it.
and he also has some new storage.
Yep, okay. I think that's probably it from these lists, except for the middle school. I need to go walk through that school and look at it. See, I look up when I'm walking through, I just remember what it looked like when I walked through
Oh my,
it
well,
last time.
we had trash cans in hallways catching water when you were
Yeah.
in there last time, and, I mean, that's all taken care
Yeah,
of.
well, and I felt like it was purposely done so the person could say, oh, look how bad it is, cause there was like red duct tape hanging plastic with water in it. It's like, are you serious? Come on.
Well, no, what I was told was we're just gonna sell it anyway, why do we wanna put money in it and improve it?
Kids
Who
can't
runs
learn
their
in that.
house down
Mhm.
before
Yeah.
they sell it,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Well, we just can't expect the kids to be at the top of their game when they're walking into that.
No, not at all.
Okay. I think that's good, and then if we have them update the list, we'll have a little bit
Mhm.
better idea.
I noted that
Yeah.
we could bring it to our August agenda.
Yeah.
I can actually link it in right now, cause I have it up.
So we definitely have to do the drip edge and all that 139, we
Yes.
have to do that. Everybody's asking for the parking lot, so I feel like we have to do that, and that
Yeah.
really needs to be done so everybody knows where to park, and
Sure.
although in a few
Yeah.
months, it won't matter, cause you'll all
Covered in snow.
get to make your own spot.
The safety film is another one that I feel is
Yes,
a top
yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would like to do the
Playgrounds.
playground equipment as well.
Yep. We need more money.
You're preaching to the choir.
A lot.
We just, I mean,
There's so much to
Yeah.
do.
we have made huge progress, but there is still a lot, and I just feel like.
It feels overwhelming.
It's hard not to get
Well, I
overwhelmed,
just
you
hate
have
for
to
the
chip away.
kids and the
Mhm.
staff, I mean, the staff, they're adults, right? They can like sort of get through it, but the kids I really feel bad for because if we're, asking them to come and do your best, give
Be
it your all,
engaged
and
in class.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I just worry about the middle school next door. as long as it's
Mhm.
looking better, you know.
I will tell you, I'm super excited for the gym and those bathrooms because
I
Yeah.
haven't seen them yet, so.
I was over there last week and they hadn't finished tiling yet, but it looks pretty darn amazing what they've done so far. It's such a huge difference already, and they were just setting them. They haven't even been grouted or anything.
Yeah,
It looks so much better.
It will, we get new partitions.
And then they got new
fixtures,
partitions
yeah.
for them,
Okay.
so it's that hallway's look great.
Depending on, the time when we end our meeting tonight, we could pop over there and
Do a
take a
walkthrough,
little
yeah.
walkthrough.
Okay, I'm up for that.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Field trip.
Hey.
The
No,
gym-
not field trips. Field trips.
Hey, we left some money for field trips for 4th grade.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So are we being asked to hire a construction manager? Is that what this action item is?
Well, that was only if you had decided that you wanted to move forward with the John Brown project, but you
Oh.
don't have.
And we
a list,
could
so-
potentially move forward with the John Brown project. I mean, the John Brown project is completely permissible under the 18 million. So if we would like to continue with exteriors, the 18 million would be a perfect use of those funds. I think, given where Apple and Spirit Lake and Lakeland Middle School have gone, that would be the next building that we would concentrate on the exterior doors and things. Mike?
Yeah, for sure. Again, hitting the oldest and the most need for, need the most first. And
I just worry because I feel like we've thrown out that 18 million 20,000 times, and before we know it, it's
I
going to be
promise you,
zero.
we have,
Yeah,
we spent
that's
about
my
4.
fear too.
Based on
like,
everything we've talked about, I think we're about 4 right now, so.
I
But
would-
you know, just we
Yeah,
keep
it's gonna
referencing
go
that, and before it's
fast.
going to be
I would much rather just focus on what we have here.
Right.
And then once we know a projection for when we're getting the 18 million.
This fall, yes.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But we don't have that in stipulations
I'd like
keep
to
being
see
thrown
it
at
in-
us,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold my breath. So when I know that, hey, we should have this in 2 weeks, then we need to reassemble and
So-
allocate where we want that 18 million, or at least where we're going to start with the 18 million chipping away
I
at
think
it.
the best course of action for this, because we do have to submit that 10-year plan and have it signed by the board, I think if we could, we have the dollar amount that we are supposed to receive from the state. We have the exact dollar amount that we are expected to receive. If we could I know it would require another special meeting, but if we could in August, once Director Ferriola has all of the building surveys done, come back together and prioritize and then put dollars to those projects. It doesn't mean that we're committing to it, but at least we can get the approval so that I can get it submitted to the state so that we can get the money in the bank so that we can then move forward. But then at least we'll have that kind of matrix of these are our top priorities.
And we could have the principal request updated so
By
that
then as well.
the board could look at that.
But I'd
That
like to
would
do
be
that
good.
in
Yeah.
August so that we can get our stuff in by that August 31st deadline, so that we can get in on that first
Right.
issuance of money. It won't be the full 18 million right away because they do have to bond for it, so they're kind of doing it in stages, but we will get a chunk. We are on the list to have our stuff if we get our stuff in on time. So they had asked all districts, do you think you'll have your list in by August 31st? And I was very, very Pollyanna about it, said, yeah, we will. So that's, so we're on the list to get that initial funding. It'll be a portion of it, and then we'll get the rest, hopefully by the end of the fiscal year.
So as far as the construction manager and the general contractor, then I'd say we table that until after we have all our ducks in a row,
Yep.
and I really wanna see what the principals have to say, and
With your permission, I will reach out to the 2 contractors that did bid for that RFQ and just let them know it's tabled until we have our
More definitive
more
funding.
definitive funding, and then to ask if they would like to keep their, I mean, we can either close it out completely and restart, or we can hang on to those 2 and.
well, my thing is, I don't wanna do anything with it until the concrete's done and the other stuff's done, because here's the thing is, for too long, that is exactly what we've done, and I don't wanna do that. I want to hear from the principals, I wanna fix what we've been talking about fixing, see where the principals are, and I understand that John Brown needs to be done, but, you know, I think it needs to wait until we get the other stuff done.
Yeah, so we can, based on whatever action you guys take tonight, we can then start going out for bids, or quotes, depending on the dollar amount. And then, so, maybe we could add a column to this, this preliminary budget spreadsheet I'm looking at, where we put, here's the contractor we're using and here's the date that it's slated to
That'll be
start.
part of the status update on the, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Just so that then, because then if we can have all of that dialed in, some of it may not happen until summer because we can't get on somebody's schedule until then, but if we know it's scheduled, the money's encumbered, and this is when it's gonna happen, then when we do get the 18 million, I think the board members will feel a little bit better about
Interested to
starting to
see
talk about the
how
rest of
much
it.
the initial allocation is.
They said roughly 10%, so 1.8.
Well, that's
is-
not very much.
Right,
And if we keep saying, well, we'll
Well,
just
I'd
wait,
say
we'll just
that-
put it on this, we'll put it on this, and we have everything out there and we're at $472 million, we have a significant problem.
Well, and-
So,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, we have to, I mean, I appreciate your, desire to, keep pushing the ball down the field, but we need some boundaries on our field before we keep pushing. And we have seen this repeatedly where we say, go this way, and boop, we're over here. So we just need to put the brakes on for the moment. It's not a forever thing, it's just a moment.
Yeah.
We will get this stuff dialed in once you make a decision or take action.
Perfect.
so I will contact those two companies and let them know that this has been tabled.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any more discussion we wanna have on the facilities work session and the items that are on the spreadsheet?
I don't, I think we did pretty good.
No, I think
we
it,
did
yeah,
pretty thorough.
I appreciate the projects that were
Yeah.
proposed, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can take action, well, the discussion on, policy 2375, service animals in school. You're gonna have to clue me in and remind me. The main purpose for bringing it to this work session is the fact that we have to have a little bit of conversation for direction before we send the policy out for survey to bring it back to the board for approval.
The issue
Take it
is, so we reached out to get, some legal guidance around like vaccinations, what we're allowed to require, that kind of a thing, cause if you look at model policies, it's different than actual policies and what the guidance has been. So then we looked into, basically the feedback was you have to look in the ordinance in that city and you're following whatever guidelines they have. The kicker is the county and the city, everyone has a different type of, so we included even those different ordinances. It's on one doc where this is what Spirit Lake requires, this is what Rathdrum requires, and this is what the county requires. And so we're just talking about, how do we navigate those three with what we require, because technically we're only allowed, we can't ask for anything like, so I think one of the cities, I think it was Spirit Lake, says that you have to have the vaccinations or something on the collar, and then I think it's Rathdrum that says, well, you actually have to approve the paper, and then I think it's the county that says we don't require anything. I'd have to go back and look at that doc, but it definitely is, we're a little bit all over the board on that. So for the policy, we just note, follow the ordinance of, so each building potentially could be different depending on the location geographically, or are we gonna put a standard, this is what we're requiring? Did I capture that? That was
I
kind
think
of,
so, yeah, cause it's, bottom line is, we did reference the county ordinance, the cities of Rathdrum and the city of Spirit Lake, because they all kind of weigh in on certain schools. But I think that it is beneficial for the district to at least say, you need to comply with the ordinance and provide the documentation of your compliance. So if it is with City Spirit Lake, then they have to give us the license and the rabies vax. If it's
Have to have
City
the
of
collar,
Rathdrum,
yeah.
it's, a picture of the dog tag with the information.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Rathdrum doesn't require a license, which I thought was weird, but, and then the county.
it's just,
is.
our struggle is, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, this is around kids.
Right.
And
Mhm.
you're required to be vaccinated and have all those, but we can't ask for any of that. And so, you know, how do we ensure to parents? And I even asked the question of, could we send something out of like, if there was a service dog in the classroom, are there potential allergy issues? The guidance was we can't even do that.
Oh,
And so we can't even send out a notification to families
Right.
that there's a potential dog in a school. And so just how do we,
So there is the plan though, that on and when students enroll in school, that there's sort of a caveat, like, I don't remember what we're saying, but how do you feel about service dogs in school? I mean, it's gonna freak your kiddo out, are there severe allergies? So that we're asking before we have to ask, so we sort of have a knowledge before we get to that
we
situation.
were trying to be strategic with like a class list, like if you know if some child has had a really severe dog attack of some kind, and it's just like, this would be a traumatic, we just won't place them in that class.
To have them
So we're,
in different
Right.
classrooms.
the goal was to, how do we honor both parties? Because we are
Right.
definitely going to have families that struggle, and then obviously a service dog is a need, and so how do we fit both worlds and make the best for everybody? So that was kind of like, we're not trying to alienate anybody, but still giving parents the opportunity to be aware that this is a potential, especially if there's been a traumatic event for a family or a child.
Well, and we also struck out the language for service dogs in training, because by statute, we are not required to allow in training service dogs in buildings. So we just took it out, because
And-
why make that headache?
And
if
some
we
of the
don't need it?
language is ambiguous in the law, specific to like, when
Direct
you would
threat.
be allowed, when you would be allowed to
Unreasonable.
revoke that situation,
Yeah.
and the guidance was, the gist of the guidance from my perspective would be, you'd be really hard pressed. I mean, the dog would have to be essentially out of control and the handler has no control, but you couldn't say no if there was an allergy situation, or,
Right.
you know, it would have to be really truly this dog attempted to bite somebody or was really aggressive, and I mean,
Or won't
or
follow commands and is
exactly, if
disruptive
it's out of
children.
control and they're
Right.
the handler, so.
I do like the idea of following the ordinance or referencing the ordinance,
Okay.
and
We can list them at the
cross-referencing
bottom,
that.
and then we
to-
could actually put the link in.
Does Athol City have an ordinance? Because
I thought Maria and you looked that up and there wasn't one, right?
Interesting.
I don't think she looked it up, because I
Okay.
just called off Spirit Lake in the bathroom.
Okay.
I totally forgot Apple.
I did also. I immediately thought Athol County, but actually it sits in the city, so we probably need to check.
Yeah, it does that in the city.
Their ordinances are online. You can look them up.
Yeah.
Or, I haven't seen this policy because I missed this meeting, but, do we kind of, for the patrons, identify which schools sit within which, jurisdiction, or are we just letting them do that?
I think that we should put a caveat in, that just the expectation is that you'll comply with either your city ordinance or county ordinance,
Mhm.
dependent on which school you attend.
And then I
Yeah.
think at the bottom where we cite,
Yeah.
statute, we can actually put the link directly to the page, cause all of them Maria was able to find are online, so we could put the actual link so they're not
Mhm.
searching for it.
Right.
Yep,
So then.
So that was just discussion, and
Right.
then it'll go for a review process.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to
Because
make
we
sure
wanted
there's
to make
not
sure we
action.
could,
Yep.
no, it's not, we wanna make sure we're gonna put it in the student handbook.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
pushed it to be here, because
Mhm.
then it can go to the August board meeting for approval, and then I can put it on the handbook, cause otherwise the handbook's gonna go out to families before then, so
Okay.
we will it's still on our agenda for next Thursday for policy. Maria and I can work on adding the ordinance numbers, and then we'll look at it one more time, and then it still has to go out for survey.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll look at that, and then it'll go to the if all is well, it'll go to the August board meeting, so then I can add that language in to the, if you saw on the student handbook when I brought it to you guys, I had that like add in the service
Oh,
dog
yeah.
language, so that's why.
Okay.
And then on the THS request for annual leadership retreat, I know we're moving down into the action
Mhm.
items, but I figured we just talk about that first. That is something that we are required to approve.
Yeah.
And I do think the board needs to direct, Lisa to sort of have a,
Procedure.
yeah, the procedures of like, this is where the board should weigh in. I mean, we're the governance, so we do have policies surrounding this, but it seems like we're, or at least I'm often saying, is this something we have to weigh in?
Uh-huh.
Or, you know, and so
To have
the advice,
or a procedure in place,
Yes.
then we just know that.
yes, and those
we
that
do.
come after us won't have to sit there and go for every single year, are we supposed to approve this?
Mhm.
For Lisa, for doing that, would you like if there's examples of those permission slips included in that procedure, just so you guys can see them?
That would probably be good.
Okay.
But we're, I guess my kind of, hiccup is we do approve these, but like what legal pointed out, we have no idea what type of permission slip, if there's even one that's given for signing. Lynn did say there is, but we don't know what it looks like, we don't know what the liability, hold harmless clause looks like. We don't know anything, and these people are at the water's edge. We're not transporting, so then there is, you know, kind of a caveat is, are we actually sponsoring this? But, you know, liability is liability, so if
Parents
something bad happens,
transport.
they'll go to the biggest the deepest
Yeah.
pocket.
Well, and the
Parents-
attorney
Or the
felt like-
students transport themselves, cause I know when Katie did it, she drove
Drove
herself
herself,
up the,
right.
up there, so.
Yeah,
And
the
see, Zachary wasn't allowed to.
The attorney felt like, just the way this comes about, this would be a school-sponsored event.
Mhm.
And so, and she did point out that in Idaho, there've been 2 student fatalities and
Mhm.
1 catastrophic, injury, and the district was liable in all 3 of those, so we just wanna make sure that we're being very cautious and covering ourselves. One of them had to do with drowning.
Right.
But I think if you had a template specific to school-sponsored events that are like this, that has that language in there, then obviously they can tweak some of the specifics, but then there's the generic
Right.
that is required.
Then we have our bases covered
Mhm.
from
Correct.
the district level.
Yeah, the attorney said for sure anytime you're going overnight, the board should be able to approve that. So I will, and we're speaking specifically about these types of events as far as when we bring things to the board.
Right,
Okay,
right.
I will put that together.
Perfect.
And then we can kind of build the template so they can see what the liability lens.
And, yeah, we'll work with Megan to make sure that the legal language is
Dialed in.
correct.
And when are they planning this trip?
August 12th and 13th.
It's before the board meeting. That's why it came now, because the teacher got it to Maria 2 days before the board meeting in July, so it didn't meet the deadline. So do we wanna have any further discussion on any of the action items?
So we do know that there is
There's some sort of
a permission slip.
Zachary had to fill the one out every year.
Oh, we don't know what
But
it
we
is.
don't know if it has
I
any
did
kind
read it.
of liability, release
Just
of
be
liability
honest.
language or
Right.
any of that, we don't know.
Being transparent, I just signed it, I didn't read it. I just knew it was leadership. Well, we can, if you guys take action, you could say that you're just gonna require, and we could have the template built, so they have to use whichever one we need.
We had our little minibuses, we transport them ourselves and take that out of the equation
Right.
at least.
But, I mean, this is a fast timeline, but we do have a workshop on the 24th, so we could get a permission slip template.
But I don't, I mean, I can certainly try, I just can't promise that
Guarantee
I'm
that.
gonna be able to have Megan look at it, I don't know what her schedule looks like. She hasn't been as quick, with the turnaround as far as reviewing legal documents and getting back, so.
It's summer.
Yeah, people are on vacation, yeah. So I can certainly try, I just can't promise that I would have her input by the 24th. But we could bring the permission slip on the 24th.
Well, and I would really like to stress that, the boundaries within getting things assigned to the agenda hasn't changed. July was an odd, but it still wouldn't have met the deadline had we even not submitted it early.
Right.
But, it's bothersome because if we weren't having these meetings, there would be no coming before the board.
Right.
I let him know that,
Okay.
and he said, oh, okay, that's good to know. So teachers aren't typically the ones who send, well, some of them are, I guess, and the ones who are sending curriculum definitely know, but if you're not a teacher who typically sends something, they don't know what the timeline is, so we can do a better job of making sure that they do know that. I was just glad he remembered to give the permission, because he takes the kids every year. One of the things that are, just with regard to transportation, this doesn't have anything to do with liability, but one of the things that, I can't remember if it was ICRIMP, I think it was ICRIMP told me, was that if we were going to transport kids in something other than a school bus or in a minibus because we don't have it, their recommendation is that we rent a vehicle and we purchase the rental agency's insurance, because if there is an accident, then it's on their insurance, not the district's. I don't know if that matters, but that's what ICRIMP told me and suggested.
Those with the deepest pockets lose. So.
I'm sure that they would find a way to come back here, but that would be the
Absolutely.
first insurance company that I guess it would go through.
Yeah.
I would feel better about, based on just reading what Amy wrote, I would feel better about having the kids being transported in some way and not driving by themselves.
Well, and it's, I mean, it's
Zachary
all.
wasn't, I don't remember Zachary, I mean, I remember one year the bus didn't show up, and so Ally Van Gundy and I had to load and get parent permission to put kids in our car to, like, all the parents were scrambling because there were some kids that had just gotten dropped off, like, I don't remember Zachary being allowed to drive. Like, we had to, my parents picked him up last year because I was gone.
So I'll verify that.
Okay.
But
That's
what
what
is
I remember, I don't
transportation?
remember him being allowed
Maybe
to.
your daughter was just a rebel.
She went in the first years that they
Oh,
they
okay.
did
Yeah.
this,
Okay.
because I think they started this their sophomore year.
Maybe, I mean, Ryder wasn't in leadership, so I don't know, but
Maybe
Zachary
it
was
was
in
a-
it all 4
yeah.
years, and I don't remember
Mhm.
him ever being allowed to transport.
And maybe Katie was just a.
Yeah, I don't,
But she was also working, so she may have said, "I will come up after work."
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows?
I'll ask
I
that
don't
question.
remember.
If the expectation is that the students are self-transporting, would you like me to tell them that, what would you like me to tell them about
That would be a no.
Okay. No self-transport?
Cause aren't they going to Round Lake?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's some fun intersections.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Dufert Road
Yeah,
in
it's
and of
important.
itself can
How many
be
kids are we talking?
a little funky.
I mean, if everybody goes, I bet there were probably 15, there's like 4 or 5 per grade level, and then you got
Yeah.
ASB, so probably
So I would say 20.
maybe 20, yeah.
So we would need a bus.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 1 year, but I mean, I don't know if I'm confusing another activity, but I feel like 1 year they actually did.
Okay.
Maybe it was Zachary's freshman year or something.
Okay, so I will communicate with Mr. Kroc that, I'm gonna ask him for his permission slip.
Mhm.
And then Lynn and I will work on some language, with regard to release of liability, which we will also get help from Megan for. And then, I'll talk to him also about transportation, and we'll bring the permission slip to the board at the special meeting on the 24th. Put it on my agenda doc right now, so I don't forget.
So do we table it to that meeting?
It's
Or,
up to you guys.
or
It's horribly hot in here.
Sorry.
I tried to turn it on.
I
before
know.
I did for-
It goes off every 2 hours.
Yeah,
so.
it didn't even kick on when I tried to.
It's something else that we probably need to
Yeah.
replace.
Yeah, it's on its
just
left.
add it to the project.
Yeah, right.
Does it come out of that 18?
Oh wait, nope, it's not a school.
No, that's
We're
right.
gonna
Yeah,
add
we
to
get
that
to suffer, it's
18
fine.
Yeah.
Just lose a couple pounds every time.
So Ramona, what's your perspective on the THS request? Should we table it until?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to. I mean, unfortunately, given the information we were given, it would be sort of derelict of us to say, unfortunately. I mean, that's sad, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that it's either table it or deny it.
yeah, right, that's all we can do. So we can try and work with them and try and get the permission slip, but I would definitely let them know where we're at.
So I would move to table the THS request for the annual leadership retreat.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving to the plant facilities projects for 24 and 25 school year. I would move that we approve the preliminary after discussion worksheet presented for the plant facilities levy projects for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Now we're all very on the same
Thank you
page.
all for all
Are
of
we
your work.
going to
Yeah.
appreciate
take
it very
action
much.
and specifically table that? We said we were gonna table it, but we didn't take action on it.
Yeah, I'll move to table the construction manager general contractor item on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. On that note, we can adjourn the meeting. It's 8:19.
I take a little walk.
With a